Tsunade snorted, "Boy, don't say such strange things, I'll make you lose miserably later." "Okay, but what if I win?" "Can you win?" "If you win, I can promise you anything." Tsunade laughed confidently, Go to the training ground." Uzumaki Mito shook his head and said, "You guys go, my old wife is going to rest, the voice is small at night, don't make noise with others." Tsunade waved his hand and said, "Grandma, I know." Tsunade felt that his thoughts were clear, thinking that he would finish his own abuse of Ikid, and suddenly smiled. Soon, Yokai and Tsunade arrived at the training ground. The training ground was empty, and Tsunade picked a boulder and easily smashed it with a punch, which instantly turned into a wrist-breaking platform to use. "Boy, how's it going, scared?" Tsunade originally wanted to shock Yokai, but seeing that Yokai didn't care at all, he suddenly felt even more upset. "You'll know how good I am later." Yokai and Tsunade stood at opposite ends of the stone platform, clasping each other's hands. Tsunade also turned to Kushina and said, "Kushina, you step back and be careful to hurt you." Joshinai nodded and retreated 10 meters away, and then shouted loudly, 3, 2, 1, start. A. Tsunade let out a continuous roar, and the golden chakra erupted from his body the moment Joshinai announced the start. Feng smiled slightly, and his strength began to rise. 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. I saw that on Feng's body. Purple chakra also appeared. Tsunade was slightly distracted, looking at the chakra on Feng's body. It turned out to be exactly the same as his grandfather. At the same time, a huge force also came from his hand. Humph. Tsunade snorted, and in an instant opened the Ein seal on his forehead. The art of 100 heroes. The chakra on Tsunade's body was about to overflow to redeem the disadvantage just now. The power of this kid turned out to be so great. And also with a breezy look. Tsunade let out a low roar, and his whole body was covered with a golden sheen. "I don't believe it, you have more strength than me." The terrifying momentum, centered on Yokai and Tsunade, burst in all directions, and purple and gold chakras swirled around, forming a whirlwind of purple and gold mixed. Rumble. The stone platform cracked. The ground on which the two were standing also cracked. Sarutobi Hinata, who had just returned home, had just sat down when he received news from the Dark Ninja. Tsunade and Yokai again. Sarutobi Biwako was originally still complaining that Sarutobi has often worked overtime recently. The eldest son is preparing to graduate, and the youngest son Sarutobi Asma is also entering ninja school this year, and Sarutobi Hinata has no time to pay attention to his two sons. Then, the ape flew away again. Sarutobi Biwako shook his head helplessly, maybe overtime is Hokage's fate. At the same time, Konoha White Fang and Bofeng Shuiman, who had just sent off Tuanzong and returned to the village, also saw the purple-gold tornado that suddenly appeared from the training ground. "What's that?" "Go over and take a look." In the training ground, Joshinai had already retreated another 10 meters. "I can't see what happened to Yokai and Tsunade inside the chakra whirlwind." Now Joshinai regretted it in his heart, and he shouldn't have proposed to break his wrist. What is the difference between this and fighting? I saw the purple chakra on Yifeng's body, rolling up like a boil and rushing into the air. At the same time, countless branches and vines emerged from Joshinai's feet, forming a wall in front of Joshinai. Ikid was single-minded, and while following Tsunade to break his wrist, he was still protecting Joshinai. "Humph, Count, you qualified and know how to protect Joshinai." Tsunade roared, and the desire to fight that had been immersed in for the past 2 years was instantly ignited by Feng. The golden chakra also soared straight into the sky, and the wind swept the clouds. Bang! The huge chakra scattered in the air, and the heavy pressure actually collapsed the land around the two of them. Bang! 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 One big hole after another has formed all around. Joshinai looked back and saw that it was Bofeng Shuiman and Chimu Shuamao coming. What the hell is going on here? Watergate frowned, looking at the two figures of one purple and one gold that were faintly not clear on both sides of the stone platform, and was stunned for a moment. Night Maple. That woman is. Kiki Shuamao next to him said, "It's Tsunade. Tsunade-sama." Watergate's eyes widened. Tsunade was Konoha-san's Hinu, who was also on a par with his master. And it seems that Yefeng still has an advantage. Chimu Shuamao frowned. Yifeng's strength exceeded his imagination. His own assassination technique can be said to be the first in Konoha, but with strength alone, he is inferior to Tsunade. But Yikide in front of him was already ahead of Tsunade. Is the blood succession limit so strong after awakening? The Thousand Hands clan is terrible. Yikide actually broke his wrist with Tsunade and didn't fall behind. Watergate was hurt. He thought he could catch up with Feng, but found that he seemed to be thrown farther away. Chapter 032. At this moment, the ape flying sun slashed in. Hey, what are you doing? Before the words fell, Tsunade roared, gathered all his forces together, and suddenly pressed down. Rumble. A bang. A huge explosive force erupted centered on Yokai and Tsunade. It's like countless explosives, exploding in an instant. Everyone's faces were paled by the sudden burst of light. Feng Shimon's eyes widened, and he quickly blocked in front of Jioxinai. Of course, Feng's reaction was faster, and he had already surrounded Jioxinai with the Muduan wood ingot wall and the Muda tree boundary wall. Ahem, what are you doing? Except for Jioxinai, the others were blown up to ashes. Even the ape flying sun chop is no exception. Looking at the two who were completely engulfed in the smoke of the explosion, Jioxinai suddenly found that her proposal was really not good. Ape Flying Sun Chopper was also speechless. You guys just break your wrists, is it necessary? I won. The smoke gradually cleared, and Yurakide's hand pressed Tsunade's hand against the table made of boulders. The stone platform had been shattered, and the land beneath the two men was covered with radial cracks. You. Tsunade looked at Yurakide stunned, really couldn't believe that he had actually lost. Moreover, Yefeng is still single-minded and distracted. Yurakide let go of Tsunade's hand and stood up, loosening his shoulders and arms. Ape Flying Sun Chopper also looked surprised. Yokai won Tsunade. You must know that you are purely competing in strength, and you are not necessarily Tsunade's opponent. Feng, this kid, is amazing. Chimu Shuamao was silent. As for Watergate, it stood still. It's a bit hard to accept. Jioxinai hurriedly ran up. Night Maple. Are you okay? Yefeng touched Jioxinai's head and said, it's okay. Jioxinai glared at Yikide, and quickly ran to Tsunade. Sister Tsunade, are you all right? It's okay, it's just that my hands are a little numb. Tsunade said lightly, shaking his head. Losing is losing, and Tsunade, as a generation of gambling monsters, is still willing to gamble and lose. Tsunadeheim, but our bet still counts. It's okay for me to say what Tsunade said. Let's say, what do you want me to do? I haven't thought of this yet, let's talk about it next time. Humph. Again this kid dares to propose something messy, I beat him to death. Then, Tsunade suddenly thought, can he beat him? Forget it, let's talk about it later. Tsunade didn't embarrass Yakide anymore afterwards, returned to the small courtyard, and took the initiative to pick up the bed and go to sleep on the sofa. For this reason, Jioxinai also glared at Yefeng a few times. Uzumaki Mito also looked surprised when he learned that Yokai had won Tsunade. Tsunade actually lost, and sure enough, only the people of the Senju family can win the people of the Senju family. Early the next morning, Yefeng was still in a wonderful sleep, but was woken up. What for? Juzunai. It turns out that Jioxinai usually asked you to get up, the benefits are good, boy. Yifeng had not yet opened his eyes, and when he heard this voice, he immediately opened his eyes. How could it be Tsunade? Kushina followed Tsunade. Then, the voice of Uzumaki Mito came from outside. Yokai, get up, this morning, we're going to attend an extraordinary meeting of Konoha's high-level. Konoha high-level ad hoc meeting. Yefeng brushed his teeth while listening to Jioxinai's explanation. Because of Danzo's dismissal, Mito Minato, and Koharu's vacation, Konoha's administration caused a big shock. There will be a new batch of high-ranking officials, hence the Konoha administration. At the same time, there will also be a group of new blood to become the new high-level. Oh, so we're going too? Yes. In this way, Yefeng was taken to the meeting site, the administrative building. When I was at the door of the administration building, I also ran into Feng Sherman and Jiraiya, whose face was still wrapped in bandages. Jiraiya also saw Uzumaki Mito, and quickly greeted, "Uzumaki Mito-sama." Uzumaki Mito said strangely, "Jiraiya, what's wrong with you?" Jiraiya glanced at Tsunade, and said with a smile, "It's okay, I accidentally hit a telephone pole last night, let's go in." Feng originally thought that the whole village was going to go, but when he went, he found that all the people present were famous figures from Konoha Village. The high-level officials of various departments, the heads of various ethnic groups, the 3 shinobi of Konoha, and the White Fang of Konoha all participated. There are also outstanding ninjas of the younger generation, such as Yokai, Wei Feng Shuman, Uchiha Fugaku, and the first generation of Inuga Butterfly. Yokai followed Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade into the meeting site, which immediately attracted everyone's attention and discussion. The men who followed Uzumaki Mito and Tsunade, who else, was not Yokai. Many high-level officials, as well as the heads of various ethnic groups, were all seeing Feng Jinren for the first time. He's Knight Feng. He brought down the gang of 3. But looking at his appearance, there is nothing special. Chapter 033 Feng's group was arranged in the first row, which also surprised Feng. But think about it, I represent the Thousand Hands family, and naturally I feel very normal. After all, the Senju clan is the #1 clan in Konoha, at least in terms of reason. Everyone's eyes were on Yokai, who was sitting next to Uzumaki Mito. Feng could also hear the whispers of everyone. He's Knight Feng. He came too. Has there been any news that who will sit in the top 2 positions in the administration department? Did Naruto-sama intend to reorganize the roots? In the anime, except for Danzo alone, there are no other clansmen of the Shimura clan, as well as the eldest son of Sarutobi Hinata, and the eldest brother of Sarutobi Asuma, all came. Listening to Jio Shurnai explain at the scene, in addition to the 3 major clans of Senju, Hinata, and Uchiha, the most famous are the Sarutobi clan and the Shimura clan, which were famous in the Warring States period. Among them, Naruto-sama's father, Sarutobi Sasuke, was a famous ninja at that time and one of the founders who co-founded Konoha. Most of the people who were able to enter the venue were people from the 38th major family. Feng listened to Jio Shinai's words, and then looked at everyone present, and probably understood. The 38 students accepted by the second-generation Senju represent the 38 families of Konoha. The so-called Will of Fire is also about blood. You are not a member of the 38 major families, and it is basically impossible to inherit the Will of Fire. The successor of the Will of Fire probably came out of these 38 major families and grew up, that is, to become the top of Konoha. A few lucky people, like Bofeng Shuiman, can become Hokage, but they can't do it with battle merits. The wife is the pillar force of the Nine Tails and becomes the spokesperson of the Uzumaki clan, and is obedient enough to obey the opinions of the 3 generations and the elders to be qualified to inherit the Will of Fire. Seeing that Naruto Uzumaki was surnamed Uzumaki, he knew that Watergate had chosen at that time. And Chimu Shuamao, who is of equal strength, is also a prominent military meritorious man, but the meritorious lord, who is also a competitor of the 4th generation of Hokage, was politically murdered. It can be seen that the Will of Fire is not something you can inherit if you want to. Feng thought to himself that if he hadn't awakened the Thousand Hands family's blood succession limit, I'm afraid he wouldn't have entered Konoha's high-level society like this. When Sarutobi entered the conference room under the support of a group of Konoha ninjas, the conference room immediately fell silent. Everyone looked at the ape-flying sun. Under everyone's gaze, the 3 generations of Hokage walked to the podium and scanned it for a week before saying aloud, "Let me tell you the good news first." In the first week that Shimura Tuanzong led the group to Union Village, there was an important breakthrough. Union Village has signed a 20-year peace agreement with it. We in Union Village will maintain peace for at least 20 years. This is an important milestone in our great revival of Konoha, on the road to peaceful rejuvenation. As soon as the words of the ape-flying sun chop came out, the audience was in an uproar. Many people showed a look of joy. In the past few years, from war to peace, everyone knows the preciousness of this peaceful and beautiful peace. If the most militant Union Village is willing to make peace with Konoha, then Konoha can continue to be peaceful. The clansmen of the Shimura clan are full of pride. This is the light of our Shimura, the darkness of Konoha. Even if he was wronged, suffered a black pot, and went away, he also made meritorious contributions to Konoha. Feng was also stunned. Tuanzo did not go undercover, but to be an embassy. It's only been a few days, so soon to pave the way for your return. It's really a politician, and it's really six playing politics. Uzumaki Mito also frowned, but did not say anything. Uzumaki Mito has never liked power, otherwise, the Senju clan and the Uzumaki clan would not be so miserable, and all the men were hung up. After Sarutobi announced the exciting news, the official topic of the meeting began. Personnel transfer in the executive branch. Sarutobi Hinata said that there will be a group of young talents who will enter the upper echelons of Konoha. Feng listened a little, and after some appointment, the highest chief of the administration department was temporarily served by Ape Flying Sun's old classmate, Akimichi Taikaze. Uzumaki Mito, and the head of the Hyuga family as a special advisor. Tsunade becomes the supreme chief of the medical department, and Orochimaru becomes the deputy. Jiraiya became the principal of the ninja school, and Watergate became the vice principal. As soon as Konoha Sanshin returned, he immediately inserted into various important positions. The Uchiha family was still in charge of the Konoha Guards, but due to the dissolution of the Roots, the powers of the Konoha Guards were further expanded. With the appointment of one person after another, Feng thought to himself, he would not appoint himself to do anything. This idea had just appeared, and the ape on the podium flew into the sun, glanced at Feng, and said lightly. Feng, Shimoshinobu, the mission of rescuing Jio Shinai is meritorious, and the illegal activities of the hidden roots of the regiment are meritorious, so he was promoted to Special Shangnan, and arranged to be the vice principal of the ninja school. Chapter 034. Feng didn't expect that he would be arranged like this. Vice principal of ninja school. Such a big position. Ape Fei re-spoke on it, and Yefeng did not plan to refuse in person, just don't go when the time comes. Sarutobi ended with a speech of will of fire. Roughly wherever there are leaves, the fire burns, the shadow of the fire shines on the village, and new leaves sprout. It means that young people are the hope of the future, and the older generation should trust and guard them. The sacrifices of the older generation are not meaningless, but will inspire the young to become pillars of the future. No wonder the three generations can say this passage so fluently. When did it turn out to be taken out and said? After the meeting, Sarutobi also patted Yifeng's shoulder and said, "Good job, I believe you can do it." Wufeng Shuiman also came over and said, "Yefeng, we will be colleagues in the future. I don't think I'm well suited to be a principal." Tsunade suddenly rolled his eyes. "Okay, don't be so stupid, okay. The vice principal, that is, the teacher, understands no." "Huh. Wouldn't it, such a routine." Listening to Jio Shinai's explanation, I knew that in the school, the ordinary teacher was one level higher, that is, the vice principal. The current vice principal has more than 10 people, and he is actually a senior teacher. Yifeng's epiphany was speechless. Want him to be a teacher? Not interested. However, when Night Maple wanted to be a salted fish, Uzumaki Mito talked to Night Maple about it. In Mito's room in Uzumaki. "Yifeng, what do you think of Jio Shinai?" This sentence suddenly came when Yifeng was defenseless, which really caught Yifeng off guard. "Grandma Mito, Jio Shinai is good-looking, and..." Uzumaki Mito waved his hand. "Forget it, let's say it bluntly." After a pause, Uzumaki Mito suddenly said seriously, "Yifeng, you are the last bloodline of my Senju clan. If you want, you can treat this place as your own home, we are all your relatives. I'm wondering, can I entrust Jio Shinai to you?" When Yifeng heard this, his eyes immediately lit up. I didn't expect Uzumaki Mito to be so direct. Akito didn't say secret words, and Yokai nodded sharply and said, "Okay, Grandma Mito. I do." Uzumaki Mito snorted and said, "You sleep all day, what are you willing to do? Actually, you can also see that Jio Shinai has a good impression of you. So, if you can really come together with Jio Shinai, I am the first to agree. I just don't know if you mean that." Yifeng immediately said, "Of course there is. I love Jio Shinai." For opportunities, Yefeng never flinched. Uzumaki Mito nodded in satisfaction. "If you want to be with Jio Shinai, you can't hang like this. Actually, this time the position arrangement was proposed by me with the 3 generations of Hokage." Ikid was stunned for a moment, and understood what Uzumaki Mito meant. "Good job, you will become a Hokage in the future." Suddenly, Yefeng slowly spoke, "So Grandma Mito means that if I marry Jio Shinai, I can become a Hokage?" Uzumaki Mito nodded slightly. Yefeng suddenly smiled. Grandma Mito, is this a dowry? No, you are originally a member of the Senju clan, and then with Gyoshinai, after I hand over the 9 tails to Gyoshinai in the future, you will definitely be Hokage. At that time, no one will oppose you, because you have strength, and you are a member of the Thousand Hands family, and you have married the 9 tails Manjuli. Understand? The corners of Yifeng's mouth turned up slightly, and he said in a deep voice, Grandma Mito, I don't want to be a Hokage. Uzumaki Mito was stunned for a moment. This guy won't be too lazy to be incorrigible. Yikide continued, I want to help Gyoshinai become a Hokage. Her dream when she was a child was to become Hokage, and I always remember helping her fulfill her dream. Yifeng's words made Uzumaki Mito's eyes light up. Really? Uzumaki Mito immediately smiled, you want to become Konoha's first female Hokage, the difficulty is far higher than if you were the Hokage. You said you had such an idea, so at least show me what you plan to do, right? At this time, Gyoshinai's voice sounded outside. Grandma Mito, Yokai, it's time to eat. Uzumaki Mito smiled and said, let's go. The easiest way to make men feel responsible is to start a family and have children. She believed that today's words would make Yefeng serious. In fact, Uzumaki Mito has not fully said all her thoughts. Her idea is that within these 2 years, get married and have children as soon as possible, and the bloodline of the Senju family can be continued, then it will be good. My own body can still support 5 years, or even 10 years. In this way, Yokai became the vice principal of the ninja school, in fact, an instructor. Recently, the rule of the 5 ninja states has begun to waver, and the borders of various countries and ninja villages have begun to have constant disputes, frictions, and conflicts. The ninjas of Konoha Village have also begun to go out on missions in large numbers, and now the village continues to have a large number of new forces, and they also need ninjas who can guide the newborn ones. As a result, Yokai became an instructor at the ninja school. As soon as he arrived at the ninja school, Yokai was assigned a task. Yifeng, you just came, we are in a class, you bring a class of graduates. Ding, according to the current situation of the host, give 3 choices. Option 1, choose the 3rd class, Coach Mat Kai, Ebisu, Moonlight Blast, Reward, A-level Ninjutsu, 8-gate Dun Jia Formation. Option 2, choose the 5th class, Coach 8 Flying Asma, Sunset Red, and the same as the same, Reward, A-level Ninjutsu, 1000 Hands Kill. Option 3, choose the 7th class, Coach Kakashi Kiki, Obito, Rin Nohara, Reward, Supreme Pack. Chapter 035 Bo Feng Shuiman looked at Yifeng and said, Yifeng Kuan, you choose first. Yifeng smiled and said, then I'm welcome, I'll choose the 7th class. The will of 7 is really everywhere. The 7th class of this year is the class that changed the world. Obito, who was originally the weakest, became Madara's toolman, and once became the big boss of Hokage. And Kakashi is also an important person. Yifeng suddenly thought, will his arrival also change the historical trajectory of the 7th class? If Obito hadn't been seriously injured in the Battle of Shinmubi Bridge, would he still have gone that way? If Yefeng can control the 3 tails in Rin's body, will that prevent the tragedy from happening? And the suicide of Konoha White Fang, and so on. Thinking about it like this, Yefeng felt a little interesting. Feng Shuiman sighed when he saw Yifeng choose the 7th class. He originally liked the 7th class the most. Hearing that Yefeng was going to choose the 7th class, he felt an inexplicable loss in his heart. And it was as if something had been lost. But Feng Shuiman still nodded and said, okay, then let's go to the 7th class. Yifeng asked rhetorically, what about you? Feng Shuiman smiled and said, it's okay with me, I'll pick the last one, you go to get your students first, by the way, this professor's guide is for you, you can take a look first. Yifeng took a copy of the New Shinobi Professor's Guide, and casually let it go. Open volume, Will of Fire. Where the leaves fly, the fire endures. The fire will continue to illuminate the village and allow new leaves to sprout. Yefeng suddenly rolled his eyes, and looked back at the author of the cover, Ape Flying Sunchop, okay. This sentence should be the words of the ape flying sun, which hung on his lips every day, and wrote this sentence on the tree, and the whole village was popularized. This thought work is really good. Yefeng flipped down, the first section is about being a teacher. First of all, you must have the ability to teach students, and secondly, you must have an inclusive heart and noble morality, so that you can lead by example to influence students to become better. To be a murderous ninja is also to be virtuous, which is also a bit of a bull. Then the second section begins, how to train qualified students as a teacher by organizing various tasks. The so-called qualified students are those who become lower shinobi, middle shinobi, or even upper shinobi, and can go to the battlefield. Whether it is the land of fire or Konoha, a batch of fresh blood is needed to join in order to maintain their current status. This is also the purpose of ninjas. First of all, the first task is to organize 3 students in his class to carry out the task of wild survival exercise. Before the task begins, remember to emphasize the difficulties of the task to the students. For example, out of 30 graduates, only 10 will be recognized as shinobi, and the rest will be sent back to school to take the exam next year. Get students serious and don't slack. The wilderness survival exercise is to go to the wild and let your students, within a limited time, such as before 12 o'clock, grab their own bells to cultivate students' ninjutsu use and teamwork. At the same time, through the teacher's display of strength, students can have a certain understanding of the strength of ninjas who have been on the battlefield. You can use people who can't grab the bell and have no food to eat at noon to stimulate the fighting spirit of students. First, complete the wilderness survival exercise to ensure that these graduates carry out their tasks and have the ability to protect themselves when they go to battle. Then start with D-level tasks, C-level tasks. This is the process for veterans of Konoha Village to lead newbies. Feng looked at how this process looked so familiar. Let's go see them first. Feng stood outside the classroom door when he heard a soft girl's voice. Oh, Obito, why did you say our teacher hasn't come yet? Lin, I don't know. This voice should be Uchiha with soil. Huh, maybe you're also helping your grandmother cross the street. Kakashi, what do you mean? Without looking, Kakashi began to despise Obito again. Seriously, the excuse of helping grandma cross the street really sucks. Obito always used this reason to treat everyone as mentally retarded, and it was no wonder that Kakashi despised it. Ahem, hello, I'm your instructor. As soon as Feng came in, he looked at the 3 children in front of him, and was immediately stunned. This is a little different from what he imagined. The little loli and little brother in front of you are also too young. Do you feel like elementary school students? Up to 5th or 6th grade. Nohara Lin said very obediently for the first time, hello teacher. She thought to herself, this teacher is a little handsome. Then Obito, who was black-haired and wearing goggles, glanced at Ikid and pouted, hello teacher. Obito thought to himself, this guy looks a little stupid like Kakashi. Finally, Kakashi, who wore a mask and only showed his eyes, said, hello teacher. Feng nodded and said, well, then, let's introduce ourselves first. The 3 said in unison, teacher, you come first. Chapter 036 Inch Me. My name is Night Maple. It's your turn. Then, Feng opened the New Shinobi Professor's Guide, and said as it said, talk about what you like, what you hate, or what dreams you have, what interests you have, and so on. The 3 looked at Feng and said, teacher, you come first. Feng was suddenly speechless. I'm a teacher, or are you a teacher? It's your turn to say, starting from left to right. I'll come first. Obito held up the goggles and said with a proud smile, my name is Uchiha Obito, and my favorite is. The most annoying thing is war. The dream is to become Hokage. End this war, let our family, let the people in the village, recognize my existence. Kakashi burst out laughing, just like you as a Hokage. Help the grandmother cross the road, and you can't be a fire shadow for 100 years. Obito was suddenly furious, Kakashi, what do you mean, are you amazing? I'm the Uchiha Obito of the Uchiha clan, sooner or later I will surpass you, after my Sharingan eyes open, Kakashi looked at Obito like an idiot, the people of the Uchiha clan are all elites, right? You don't need to right wheel eyes, it should be very strong. Obito gritted his teeth and said, what do you say? Lin hurriedly said, okay, don't argue, the teacher is watching. Feng looked at them with a curious face, there was a taste, it was really double love and double killing. It's your turn, Rin Nohara, right? Lin straightened up and said, yes, sensei, my name is Rin Nohara. What I like the most is cake, the most annoying is curry rice, my dream is to be a medical ninja and save lives on the battlefield. Yefeng nodded and said, well, you can. This little loli will indeed be the treatment of the 7th class in the future. Without this little loli, I am afraid that Obito and Kakashi would have hung up long ago. Nohara Lin nodded sharply and looked at Yifeng, feeling that this Ikid teacher was not bad. Then, Ikid looked at Kakashi, who at this time was small and cute, and looked arrogant. Yokai couldn't help but ravage Kakashi's sky-high white hair. Kakashi, it's your turn. Kakashi angrily pushed Yokai's hand away. Sensei, you messed up my hairstyle. Now that you know my name, I don't need to say anything. Yifeng looked at the 3 little fart children with different expressions in front of him, and suddenly thought of a Hokage Eternal Mysteries. Who does Lin like? Both sides said that their side was full of ironclad evidence, and Kishimoto's old thief did not make it clear, and there has always been an argument. Now, Yifeng looked at the 3 little fart children in front of him and knew the answer. That is. These 3 little fart children are less than 10 years old, understand a hammer love. Ahem, it's okay, everyone knows each other, you also know me, again, my name is Yifeng, your future instructor. That's the end of the self-introduction, starting tomorrow. All 3 looked at Yifeng. Teacher, what task? Survival drills in the wild. Obito immediately said happily, when we were in school, we often did drills. Yifeng smiled and said, this exercise is different because your opponent is me. Teacher, you. Teacher, you said something strange. Yifeng smiled hee hee, yes, this exercise, you have to be mentally prepared, the elimination rate is more than 66%, among the 30 graduates of your class, only 10 can pass at most, and the rest will be sent back to school and remodeled, understand? Obito's eyes widened, Rin was speechless, and Kakashi was silent. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, Konoha Forest, wait at the gate of the ninja 3rd base, don't be late. As soon as Yifeng's words fell, the person had disappeared, leaving a stunned trio. Lin wiped her eyes and said, Teacher Yefeng is gone. Groove, it's like magic. Obito was also very surprised. Kakashi said with disdain, fool, this is the instantaneous technique. Kakashi, who do you say is a fool? Lin saw that the 2 were about to quarrel again, and quickly separated the 2 again. Don't argue, think about what to do tomorrow. Obito pouted and said, it must have been the teacher who bluffed us, how could it be so exaggerated and eliminate everyone? I didn't lie to you. Obito jumped up. Ah, teacher, how do you look like a ghost, haunted? Yifeng laughed and said, Obito, you need to strengthen your guts, I forgot to remind you just now, don't forget to bring your ninja tools, and don't eat breakfast, otherwise don't blame me for not reminding you if you vomit. As soon as the words fell, Yefeng slammed and turned into a piece of wood. With a look of surprise, Rin picked up the wood that had fallen on the ground. Kakashi said in a deep voice, this is a stand-in technique. What suddenly appeared just now was Teacher Yefeng's stand-in. Chapter 037 Yifeng, you came back so early. Yefeng nodded and gave Joshinai a touch of the head to kill. Nasty. Joshinai shyly pushed away Yifeng's demon hand and said, have you seen your student? Yokai said as he changed his shoes, well, one is called Obito, one is called Rin, and the last one is called Kakashi. Kakashi, I know, is a teenage genius, son of the White Fang. Yifeng was suddenly curious, you actually know? Of course I know, you think I don't know anything. Joshinai was like a kitten, standing obediently in front of Yifeng. Let's go inside. Yefeng naturally took Joshinai's little hand. Joshinai was a little shy, but did not break free. What about the other 2? One is from the Uchiha family, and the other is from the surname Nohara. Yifeng, your students are all very good, a son of White Fang, a member of the Uchiha family. Well, it's pretty strong. Yefeng nodded, and as soon as he came in, he heard Tsunade say with a big grin, hey, boy, you haven't proposed to Joshinai yet, don't be pretentious, okay. Joshinai retracted his hand shyly, Yefeng really wanted to beat Tsunade. Tsunade said again, how can we say that Joshinai is also the next person of the Uzumaki clan, Julie, and her other half, how can I say that I have to endure it? Ikid suddenly smiled, and at this time, Uzumaki Mito walked out. Yifeng, he is already a Shangnin, were you sleeping during the meeting yesterday? Tsunade's eyes widened, what? Did he put up with it? Our rules in Konoha, when didn't it come step by step? He hasn't even advanced to the middle ninja. How can he advance to the upper ninja? The 3 generations of adults agreed. Uzumaki Mito ignored Tsunade, looked at Yorikide and said, "Come in and eat." While eating, Tsunade was still indignant, saying that Yokai had broken Konoha's rules for years. Feng suddenly smiled and said, "Rules are established by people, and naturally people break them. This is not normal." Tsunade still looked unhappy, and at this time, the big snake pill suddenly appeared. "Tsunade, hurry to the hospital, there is an emergency." When Tsunade heard this, he immediately left without eating. Saving people is always the first priority of the medical team. Feng's ears moved, and he vaguely heard Orochimaru say to Tsunade that something had happened over there in the Mist-Hidden Village. Mist-Hidden Village? Yikide immediately thought of the 3-tailed incident that led to Rin's death. At that time, it was Madara who conspired with the 3 generations of Mizukage to inject the 3 tails into Rin's body, turn Rin into a 3-tailed human pillar force, and then send Rin back to Konoha, intending to let Rin destroy Konoha. This plan was killed by Kakashi himself by killing Rin. This had to make Feng think of the revenant of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Madara. Just when Feng was slightly distracted, Joshinai clipped a piece of meat to Feng. "Feng, this is your first time leading a class, you have to think hard about how to train them tomorrow." Feng nodded and said, "I know, Joshinai. But I thought in my heart, I am afraid that it is the beginning of the Third Ninja World War. Actually, it has arrived, but not many people have found it. Otherwise, there is no need for children like Kakashi, Obito, and Rin to grow up quickly." The 20-year peace agreement signed between Tuanzong and Yunin may have stunned the eyes of many people. But Feng didn't believe that such a peace agreement would work. The next day, Feng was still sleeping, and he was suddenly woken up again. What for? Feng wiped his eyes, his sleepy eyes were hazy, but he still took a closer look at the comber, so as not to recognize the wrong person. "It's Joshinai." Joshinai crossed his waist angrily and said, "Feng, how many times have I called you? Are you still sleeping? What time is it, and you're going to be late for the agreed time with your student?" Feng yawned and said, "What time is it? No hurry." After washing his face and coming back, Joshinai was still urging Feng, "Hurry up, I'm really going to be late." Joshinai didn't know why Feng was so lazy. However, Feng looked at Joshinai and suddenly grabbed Joshinai's hand. "What for?" Joshinai suddenly blushed. Yikide thought about it last night, mainly at dinner. Tsunade's words touched Feng. The girl is thin-skinned, and he, as a man, should take the initiative. "Joshinai, I like you, will you marry me?" Joshinai suddenly blushed, and looked at Feng with beautiful eyes and said, "Are you proposing?" Feng was stunned when he heard Joshinai's words. "Isn't this a marriage proposal?" Joshinai looked at Feng's silent appearance, and his heart was huffing. This would. Did you propose like that? People propose marriage with rings, at least a bouquet of flowers. I promised him this, wouldn't it be too frivolous? Feng pondered and said, "Well, Joshinai, I'm just proposing to you now, promise me, okay?" Joshinai looked at Feng's appearance, couldn't help but smile, poked Feng's arm and said, "You would. Can't you just send a flower?" Feng's eyes lit up and patted his head. "Oh, look at my head, it's stupid." As soon as the words fell, there was a bang behind him, a doppelganger appeared, and immediately ran outside the house. After a while, the doppelganger rushed back with a bouquet of roses. Joshinai smiled, took the rose, looked at Feng, and said coquettishly, "Humph, I promised you." Then he said, "But you have to get Grandma Mito's permission, she is my elder." At this time, Uzumaki Mito walked out of the room and said with a smile, "I agree." Jioshina walked up to Uzumaki Mito coquettishly, grabbed Uzumaki Mito and said, "Grandma Mito, you eavesdropped on us." Uzumaki Mito looked at Jioshina and Yokai lovingly and said, "Seeing that the two of you can walk together, I, as an elder, am really gratified. Your marriage is so decided." Joshinai suddenly lowered his head shyly, but he didn't expect that he would marry Feng like this. Feng's heart was also suddenly filled with a special joy. Is this love? At the same time, there is an indescribable sense of responsibility. He's going to marry his daughter-in-law. No matter what, don't give up. Suddenly, Jioshinai exclaimed softly, Yi Feng, you left quickly, you are going to be late. Chapter 038 In the Konoha Forest, at the gate of the third base of the ninja, 3 children sat in one place, looking in the direction of Konoha Village, and had been waiting for an hour. Rin, we've all been waiting for an hour, this nasty guy hasn't come yet. Lin also puffed out her mouth and said, yes, it's really untrustworthy. Kakashi glanced at Obito and said, it's not reliable than you, a guy who is late every day. Obito was suddenly upset, Kakashi, what do you say? Oh, you guys seem to be full of energy. Yefeng was in a very happy mood today, with a smile on his face. Obito, Rin, and Kakashi looked at Yokai's smile but were frightened. Old, good teacher. Well, it's good, it looks like you're full of energy, so let's go in. The 3 of them all slandered Yefeng in their hearts, and this teacher looked too unreliable. In the Konoha Forest, Yokai is explaining the rules to Kakashi, Obito, and Rin. That is, we just need to grab the bell from you, teacher, even if we win, right? Yi Feng nodded and said, it's like this, whoever performs the worst won't have to eat lunch. Huh? Obito screamed, with a sense of foreboding. Then, you have 2 hours. So let's get started. Before the words fell, a sharp sound of bitterness cutting through the air immediately sounded. It was Kakashi who threw out the kunai. Ugh. Yi Feng pinched Kuwu with his hand, and said with a smile, it's not bad. After speaking, Kakashi had disappeared and appeared behind Yokai, and Kumu rushed towards Yokai. Obito was stunned, and his body trembled slightly. And Lin next to her covered her small mouth, her eyes were light. However, in the next second, Night Maple suddenly appeared behind Kakashi. Kakashi's eyes widened, instantaneous technique. Without reacting, Kakashi was immediately grabbed by his left leg and hung upside down. Kakashi did not give up, grabbing the bell around Yokai's waist with his hand, while the kunai of his other hand was also inserted into Yokai. Not bad, don't be afraid. Yokai turned his head sideways, dodged Kakashi's kunai, and threw Kakashi out directly. Oops. Kakashi smashed directly on Obito, and the 2 rolled on the ground together. What is a ninja? You 2 are watching the hilarious one, do you want to be a ninja cheerleader, specifically cheering up? When Rin heard Yifeng's words, she was stunned for a moment, and reacted, Kakashi, Obito, we can't go it alone, we have to cooperate together. Yefeng looked at Lin with satisfaction, nodded and said, girls are still smarter. When Lin heard Yifeng's praise, a smile appeared on her face. Kakashi stood up, patted the dust on his body, and fell silent. Obito also got up, and couldn't help but pout, but there are only 2 bells. How do we work together? We are desperate together, but there is no one to eat. Lin immediately said, we can share it and eat. Yefeng looked at Rin appreciatively, the leader of the 7th class. Kakashi is powerful and arrogant, looks down on his teammates, and always wants to do it himself. And Obito is inferior and cowardly, always complaining about the current situation and not thinking about how to solve the problem. Only Rin was able to join the entire squad together at this time. Then, come again, I don't need any ninjutsu, let's grab the bell. However, after 2 hours, Obito was so tired that he couldn't stand up straight, and pouted, teacher, you are specialized in physical skills. The 3 of them in these 2 hours, don't say grab the bell, even if they haven't touched it. Obito felt that Yefeng would not specialize in physical arts, so he didn't need ninjutsu. On the other side, Kakashi was kicked off again, smashed to the ground and got up again. Idiot. Obito suddenly became angry, did I say something wrong? He Senji keyed. The successor of the original Hokage bloodline. The original Hokage is a physical specialty. Are you here to be funny? Kakashi's series of words smashed Obito. What the? Thousand Hands Night Maple. Is our teacher so good? Rin, as a child of a civilian family, originally did not know the identity of Night Maple, and hearing Kakashi say this, her eyes were full of adoration when she looked at Night Feng. The original Hokage, in the hearts of everyone in Konoha, is the supreme ninja god. As his bloodline inheritor, he is naturally also high. Yi Feng cried and laughed, wait, my name is Yi Feng, not Qianshou. Kakashi was dumbfounded, Sensei, aren't you from the Senju family? Yi Feng smiled and said, Why do children care so much? Just call me Teacher Feng in the future. Just as Night Maple was speaking, another Kakashi suddenly appeared behind Night Kid. Doppelganger. Both Rin and Obito had happy faces. Seeing that Kakashi was about to grab the bell, the next second, Rin and Obito's eyes were about to pop out, and Kakashi next to them slammed and disappeared. This Kakashi who spoke was a doppelganger, while the real body was pressed to the ground by Yokai. Ah, when did you use the doppelganger technique? Yes, you will be a doppelganger at a young age. Yokai quickly let go of Kakashi and said with a smile, well done, you are a class first, and then a ninja. Only as a team can reduce casualties in real missions, wars. Strength is important, but teamwork can make 1 + 1 greater than 2. Complementary strengths can often turn the tide of war. On the contrary, the shortcomings of the team often become the breakthrough point of the enemy. For example, Feng said, and a small tree root suddenly appeared under the feet of the three. Kakashi's eyes widened, and he immediately jumped back, be careful. Lin also retreated as soon as possible. Only Obito had a puzzled face. What? Before Obito could react, he was dragged to Feng's face by a small tree root. Ugh! Feng squatted down, flicked Obito's forehead, smiled and said, look, this is the team's shortcoming. Shortcomings are often fatal, such as, now, you are on a mission, you have secrets on your body, and you have been arrested with soil. Rin, Kakashi, tell your secrets. Otherwise, Obito will be dead. Ah. Kakashi rolled his eyes. Feng smiled and said, I'm just using an analogy, at this time, you must make a painful choice. To give up a companion for the sake of the village, or to give up this mission for the sake of this companion, will cause the village to suffer huge losses and more people to die. Obito was ashamed and embarrassed, and he was still hard-mouthed, teacher, this is not fair. You take advantage of my lack of attention to strike. Moreover, you said that you don't need ninjutsu, and you also use ninjutsu. Kakashi, idiot. Feng smiled and said, is there anything fair and unfair on the battlefield? Only those who survived, and lost heroes. Remember the hero monument at the door? Those are all dead heroes, put a name on it. Do you think they will say before they die, it's not fair, and the enemy will take advantage of my lack of attention? The intelligence is obviously lower forbearance, how can it be more powerful than upper patience? The intelligence is fake, so I died. When everyone heard Feng's words, their faces changed. Obito, if you don't want to be a burden to your teammates, then practice more, don't always think about opening the chakra. Others usually use 5 hours of training, you use 10 hours of training, others use 10 hours of training, you should use 20 hours of training, originally the talent is not good. Don't immerse yourself in your fantasy all day. War is far more brutal than you think. And it's not far from you. If you don't want to die, don't want to drag down your companions, and don't want to bring shame to your family, then practice hard. Then, Feng cried when he saw Obito. He scolded the boss and cried. Chapter 039 Konoha Village, a training ground in Uchiha's territory. As the setting sun shines, a child is covered in sweat and practicing sealing. Doppelganger. Bang. After a cloud of white smoke came out, nothing appeared. Ah. Failed again. Obito scratched his head and yelled. Why can Teacher Feng's doppelganger technique be fake? Why can Kakashi's doppelganger be so proficient? Why don't you succeed? Today, Feng's words, give him a drink. He fantasized about becoming a genius, a blockbuster, becoming a Hokage, and being proud of the ninja world. However, the truth is that he is a man with no talent. He thought about deceiving himself, but today, he couldn't deceive. And from time to time, people from the Uchiha clan cast strange eyes. That's Obito, training so hard. It's a pity that my parents died early. Without the teaching of parents, it is still a lot worse. I heard that he came back crying today. I'm afraid I failed, and I have to go back to the furnace to reform. There was a burst of discussion, accompanied by some disdainful glances. Obito's shoulders trembled slightly, and he roared angrily, I'm not a waste. With a wave of hatred, he returned home with soil. Grandma greeted her, bring soil, come back, let's eat. Don't eat. Obito closed the door directly and couldn't leave the room, and began to frantically push-ups. 197, 198, 199, 200. Obito gritted his teeth and continued to do it. The sweat of his whole body dripped on the ground, and the ground was wet. In the end, the whole person smashed to the ground, but what Yefeng said sounded in his mind. You, drag down companions, bring shame on the family. Obito gritted his teeth and got up to continue practicing. At Nohara Rin's house, her parents said with a smile on their faces, Rin, say so, you are putting up with it now. Lin nodded and said, yes, that Night Maple teacher is actually quite good. By the way, Dad, Mom, have you heard of Night Maple teacher? Night Maple. No, what's wrong, Lin? Lin held her chin with her small hand, and Yifeng's hearty smile appeared in her mind. Listen to Kakashi, Yokai-sensei is a powerful character. Awesome character. Then you have to study more with teacher Yefeng. Lin nodded obediently. Kakashi was at home, eating instant noodles by himself, and his father was not home today, so he should be busy with official business. In his mind, he recalled what Yefeng had said to them at that time. This Yefeng teacher is not reliable, or is he too indulgent with students? It is really amazing that Uchiha can pass the level with a skill like Obito. At this time, Yefeng was eating, and in addition to Uzumaki Mito and Kushina, there were also Tsunade. As soon as he sat down, Tsunade complained that the medical department was too busy and almost did not have time to sleep. Then he talked about the riot in the Mist-Hidden Village, which caused many low-level ninjas over there to be injured or even killed. The many undercover agents arranged by Konoha over there also fled because of this riot. Many died directly on the road. Those who were able to return to Konoha were all seriously injured. So these days, Tsunade is too busy to sleep. Yurikid pricked up his ears and listened to these news that he could barely see the information above Konoha. Mist-Hidden Village, the most famous is the Blood Mist, but Yefeng doesn't know why it is called Blood Mist. Is it simply his own people killing his own people? Tsunade gave the answer. Kirihide Village was originally like us in Konoha. Everyone is equal, but after 3 generations of Mizukage came to power, the policy guidelines have gradually changed. The indigenous noble clans of this village, as well as the various Sharingan families who created military merits in the war, became the highest-ranking nobles. Those small families that were annexed by the Misty Hidden Village, including the blood succession limit, ordinary families, became civilians. These civilians, performing the most dangerous tasks, are purely tools, not even dogs. As for the Blood Mist no Sato, that means that the lower ninja exam of the Mist Hidden Village must kill one of his classmates. Of course, this is also an exam that only commoners will go through, and nobles do not need it. Then those civilians are not satisfied and they are about to riot. Then, I heard that it was the upper echelons of Wuin Village who sent 7 ninja swords to bloodily suppress it, and the entire Wuin Village was shrouded in bloody terror. The 7 shinobi swords. Yifeng finally heard the knowledge he understood. However, the 7 people of the ninja knife mentioned by Tsunade are Loquat Juzo, Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, Kuriki Shotwe Shiramaru, Tsukusa Wild Bateman, No Pair Shinhachi, Black Ho Thunder Tooth, and Ghost Lantern Senkaku. Yefeng didn't know any of them. How come there is no mahogany anymore not chopped in it? Then, Tsunade added, now the teacher is planning to send several teams of ninjas to the vicinity of the village of Kurihi, and it should be Jiraiya, an idiot, as the commander-in-chief. Yifeng asked curiously, isn't Zilai also the principal? Why do you have to go out on a mission? Tsunade looked at Yokai with idiotic eyes and said, ninja school, that is, to train ninjas who can go out on missions, and to endure the principal of the school, as the commander-in-chief of the mission, isn't it normal? This mission should not be for us to endure the students of the school. Tsunade shrugged and said, I heard that this is the meaning, mainly because there are not enough people now, and there have been many border disputes recently, and almost all of them have been dispatched. When necessary, as a freshman of Shinobi, he will also go to the battlefield. Chapter 040 Tsunade glanced at Yifeng with disdain, judging by your greed for life and fear of death, even if the administrative department arranges the task here, it will not be arranged on your head. Uzumaki Mito glanced at Tsunade and said, Tsunade-heim, don't let the administration department arrange tasks for Yokai. In this case, don't say anything more in the future. Tsunade looked at Uzumaki Mito and said, Grandma, you still want Yokai out on a mission. Anyway, I don't agree. Even if Yefeng wants to go out on a mission, at least wait until Jiyoshinai has a child. Yefeng was dumbfounded. Is it so direct? How does it sound like I've become a stallion? Wait until Juzunai has a child before I can go out on a mission. Tsunade's words were too much in line with Ikide's heart. Jiyoshinai's face turned blushing shyly, fidgeting, and glared at Yifeng. How could Tsunade's sister say such a thing? Uzumaki Mito looked at Tsunade and said, if you do this, what will others think of a Senju clan? The foundation of our Konoha is that the village is the first, everyone is a member of the village, and there is no specialization. Besides, Night Maple is the Hokage in the future. He said that he would not be a Hokage, and that he would let Jiyoshinai be a Hokage. Can you be called Hokage if you retreat when you encounter a mission like this? Tsunade pouted and said, it's better than dying. You still think that the death of the rope tree and the broken is not an accident. I don't know if it's an accident, but I don't want another accident, no matter what. He is also the only remaining male member of our Thousand Hands clan. Yokai was also a little confused. Wasn't Tsunade very dissatisfied with himself before? How suddenly? I leaned to my side again. Tsunade was still unconvinced and said, besides, with Yokai's current strength, as long as the teacher retires, with the support of me and your grandmother, he will definitely be able to become a Hokage. Fool around, do you think the strength is strong, and it is okay to have the support of our family? You are still so naive. Yefeng was also a little puzzled by Uzumaki Mito's words. Uzumaki Mito explained, Naruto, all the ninjas in our village, selected together. It's not that he is the strongest to be able to become Hokage, but everyone in our village recognizes him in their hearts in order to become Hokage. When Yifeng heard this, a trace of essence flashed in his eyes, and he realized it slightly. Tsunade, back then, Uchiha wanted to be a Hokage, why didn't it succeed? Is he not strong? Uchiha's strength was not weaker than what you wanted at that time, but why did your grandfather inherit the position of Hokage? This is not the operation of our Thousand Hands clan, but the choice of the entire village. Even the Uchiha clan itself is not optimistic about Uchiha spots. You still think that as long as you are the strongest? When Yifeng heard these words, he suddenly realized. When I used to watch Hokage, many questions were solved at once. Why didn't Orochimaru become Hokage? Was it really the 3 generations of Hokage who single-handedly chose the Water Gate? I'm afraid that there are not many people in Konoha who want a beast-like person like Orochimaru to become Hokage, right? It is the desire of the human heart to become a Hokage. It's subtle. Tsunade pouted and said, Grandma, I know all this, what does that have to do with what I said? You let Yefeng not accept the task, what do others think of him, what do they think of our Thousand Hands clan? And the face to compete for the position of Hokage. Of course, it's still too early to say this, Yifeng, you better accumulate battle merits first, and get acquainted with all the upper ninja in the village. Is it still early? Not early at all. Everyone thought that peace would continue, but in the near future, a new round of ninja wars would break out. After that great battle, Sarutobi will abdicate and make way for the 4th generation of Xian. At that time, it was time for Yefeng to help Jiyoshinai compete for the position of the 4th generation. Grandma, arrange it as you want, I don't want to bother. Then Tsunade said about Yokage's proposal to Jiyoshinai, you are really embarrassed, a flower wants to marry our family Jiyoshinai. Tsunade Supsama. Jiyoshinai exhaled softly, and her face turned red. At this time, Ji-Lai also came. He still had a bandage on his face, which he had hit last time. Night Maple. Yifeng heard that he had also come to find himself, and immediately had a premonition. Himself going to war? Yefeng was not afraid at all, but there was a faint expectation in his heart. Tsunade interrupted Jiraiya's words, Jiraiya, you come to judge. Yefeng proposed to my sister Jiyoshinai, is one flower enough? Ji-Lai also touched the side of his face that was bandaged, and said with a forehead, I think it's okay. Before the words fell, Tsunade punched Jiraiya. Ugh! Ji-Lai also flew directly out of the small courtyard. Bang! There was a loud bang outside. 10 minutes later, Ji-Lai also sat in front of Yifeng, with bandages wrapped around both cheeks, and he almost couldn't recognize him. Yifeng, I came here because there is a mission coming. Is it a mission over there in Wuyin village? Ji-Lai also nodded and said, yes, it seems that you are still quite well informed, it is like this: the riot over there in the misty hidden village has led to the flight of a large number of civilian ninjas. The bloody suppression of the Ninja Dao 7 makes the civilian ninjas over there very dangerous. Feng said curiously, let's go and save them. Zilai also shook his head and said, we don't have the spare power to save all people, our mission this time is to save one person. This person is very important, she is a little girl, she has 2 blood succession boundaries at a young age. 2 blood succession limits. Who this girl is, has already come out. Chapter 041. A 6-year-old girl who knows the 2 blood succession limits, her name is Terumi. We have to save Terumi before the chase over there in Wuin village. According to the intelligence, she may be in this area, and we need to send 3 classes of ninjas to search there. Yi Feng's eyes widened. 3 classes? Is our latest graduating class? Jiraiya nodded. But they didn't do anything. Zilai also said in a deep voice, yes, they have indeed not done any tasks, and this mission can also be regarded as their opening exam from lower patients to middle patients. The commander of this mission is Yefeng Yu. Me. Zilai also nodded and said, yes, as a member of the Thousand Hands clan, you naturally have to be the commander. Feng was stunned for a moment and said, what about Watergate? Watergate and I have other missions. Jiraiya patted Ikide's shoulder. Don't worry too much, you won't meet any Shangnin, because we will attract all of them. This time, the task of our graduating freshman is to search, in this forest area, to find Terumi. Okay. Since he also said so, Yefeng was also obligated to take this task. Just as Yefeng sent Jiraiya away, thinking about how he would complete the task this time, the voice of the system suddenly sounded in his mind. Ding, congratulations to the host's strength for reaching the shadow level. Feng was slightly stunned, and quickly opened the properties. Name, Feng. Strength, Shadow. Position, Special Shinobi. Character card, SSS level Senju Pillar, Fusion degree 50%. Blood succession boundary, God level Muduin, character card comes with it. Ninjutsu, Flying Thunder God Art LV3, Dirt Reincarnation LV3, Thunder Thousand Birds LV3, Amarenua LV3, Een Seal LV3, Baihao no Jutsu LV3, 4 Elephant Seal LV3, Ghoul Seal LV3, Harem Art LV3, Shuriken Shadow Doppelganger Art LV3. There is also a supreme package that has not been opened. Feng's mind has been on the marriage proposal Jioshinai in the past few days, and he has forgotten that there is still a supreme gift package that has not been opened. Ding, open the supreme gift pack, congratulations to the host for obtaining S-Class character card, Uzumaki Ashina. Uzumaki Ashina, the village chief of the Uzumaki Hidden Village, and the patriarch of the Uzumaki clan. He is good at using sealing, and his sealing skills are very masterful, and he is known as the ancestor of Konoha's sealing technique. Feng's eyes were about to pop out. Uzumaki Ashina. The shadow-level powerhouse of the original era. It was also because of him that the other shinobi villages were terrified of the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique. Therefore, after his death, many countries and ethnic groups launched an invasion of the country of Whirlpool, resulting in the tragic destruction of the country of Whirlpool. The surviving Uzumaki people are incognito and scattered around the world. This character card cannot be used for the time being, because the character card between the Thousand Hand Pillars has not been fully integrated. When the character cards between the Thousand Hand Pillars are fully fused with 100%, you can fuse this Vortex Ashi character card and learn all the sealing techniques of the Vortex family. At that time, can you seal a nine-tailed play? The next morning, Yokai had just arrived at the ninja school, and the other 2 teachers on the mission had already arrived. Feng-kun, you are here. Yefeng was slightly stunned, but he didn't expect that one of the Naka shinobi who led the team this time turned out to be Mikoto. After thinking about Konoha's 12 Xiaochang, Sakura, Hinata, and Tenten, who are girls, also have to perform tasks before getting married and having children. Jiraiya also mentioned a little last night, recently the borders of various countries have begun to be chaotic again. As one of the 5 powers, various conflicts have also begun around the Land of Fire, and all of Konoha's upper shinobi have gone out. Therefore, the leaders of this mission, except for Feng, who is particularly shinobi, are all Zongnin teachers. In this way, Mikoto's role as a middle ninja class is also a normal thing. And if Yokai remembers correctly, Mikoto personally trained the two brothers Itachi and Sasuke to Shuriken, which shows that he still has some strength. Mikoto looked at Ikide quietly, and was very curious in her heart what kind of strength Ikide was, and let Lord Jiraiya entrust the command with the heavy task. You know, the mission commander on the other side, but a genius like Watergate. Another teacher, named Haruno Zhao, also greeted Yefeng respectfully. The last bloodline of the Senju clan has been rumored in Konoha these days, and almost everyone above the middle ninja has heard of the name of Feng. The power of one person pressed the three elders of Konoha, forcing two people to take leave, and one person to leave. Not many people know the details, and everyone is very curious about Feng. Haruno Zhao. Yefeng asked curiously, Zhao-sensei, do you have a daughter named Sakura? Haruno Zhao hurriedly said, Teacher Yefeng, don't talk nonsense, I'm not married yet, and you will cause misunderstanding if you say this. Haha, sorry ha. Ikide remembered that it was too early to ask Sakura at this time, right? Let's go then. They agreed with the students to meet at the eastern entrance of Konoha Forest, 10 kilometers from Konoha Village. If the student didn't even have the ability to cross the Konoha Forest alone, then there was no need to go out on a mission at all, it was pure death. Yokai and Mikoto, as well as Haruno Akira, soon arrived at the eastern entrance and exit of the Konoha Forest. Yokai glanced at it. In addition to Kakashi and Rin from his 7th class, there was another class of Kai, Ebisu, who didn't know that Hogenma had arrived. Rin said politely, hello Yokai-sensei, Mikoto-sensei, and Haruno-sensei. When Mikoto saw Rin, she came up happily, touched Rin's head and said, Rin, you're here too. Well, I'm in the 7th shift. Kakashi Tsundere, teacher, that idiot brought soil, it seems that he is going to be late again today. Yefeng smiled and said, it's okay, wait first. Soon, the 3 classmates of Mikoto's class also arrived, and Yefeng was not impressed. The 8 children looked at Yefeng and the other 2 teachers in unison. Because the time for departure has come, however, Obito has not yet arrived. Feng waved his hand and said, 2 of you, you guys go first, I'll wait for my students later. Mikoto hurriedly said, it's okay, we can all wait. Yes, Teacher Yefeng, it's still time. Yefeng shook his head and said, no need, if we go together, the goal on the road is too big. We went to pick up people this time to avoid the people of Wuin Village, so the smaller your target, the safer. It's best to go it separately. Then, Feng took out 2 talismans, this is my special talisman, for you, keep safe. Mikoto and Haruno Zhao both took Yorikide's amulet curiously, is this useful? 10 minutes later, Mikoto and Haruno Akira had led their teammates to leave, leaving only Yakide, Kakashi, and Rin waiting. Suddenly, a figure flew out of the woods and smashed on the ground. You don't need to look at it, it's Obito who is late again. Kakashi crouched down in front of Obito and said, you're late again, Obito. Feng interrupted Obito's words, smiled and said, okay, no need to explain, let's go, we are going to the country of water, Wuin Village, the road is still very long. Chapter 042 Lin smiled and said, Obito, you look excited. Whatever. Obito said no, but the body was very honest. He was really excited because it was the first time he had left the village. Idiot. Kakashi, you're calling me an idiot again. Okay, you two don't argue, now on a mission. Obito snorted, walked in the front and said, what a task, it's been a day, and the birds haven't seen a single one. Feng walked slowly, the corners of his mouth slightly upturned. There are no birds, but there are 2 people. In the woods, 2 masked ninjas, staring at the 4 people passing by. Their forehead badge shows that they are ninjas from the village of Mist. 3 children, so young as to endure. It seems that Konoha's personnel emergency problem is already very serious, even the students of the ninja school came out for the mission so early. This is not something we should pay attention to, we should immediately bring the news back to Lord Loquat Juzo. Wait a minute, just 3 children, plus a kid with no information, they all just went to the battlefield, we took them down, and it will be a great credit to go back. Isn't that right? What's so bad, if you're so afraid of death, what kind of ninja are you going to be? Capture them back, maybe you can know Konoha's deployment, that is a great achievement. Well. In this way, the 2 ninjas of the mist-hidden village reached a consensus. The 3 of the 7th class walked through the sunny path, and there was a large pool of water in front of them. Feng's eyes flashed, and he followed the three of the 7th class over. At the moment Feng walked over, two figures appeared in the water traces, which were the two mist shinobi who were lurking just now. They suddenly burst out and divided the corpse of Feng. The three people of the 7th class were directly frightened. Then, they suddenly appeared behind Obito. You are the second target. They also didn't expect that they would solve the only adult ninja so easily, and this ninja was too weak, right? Obito's eyes widened, and he was so scared that he couldn't move his body, seeing that they were going to tear Obito to shreds. Kakashi suddenly appeared in front of the two of them, kicked them away, and pulled the crumbling away. Obito's whole body knelt on the ground, and his heart was full of fear. Killed, dead. Doppelganger. Kakashi froze and immediately separated into two doppelgangers. The two licked their lips and said, "Ouch, such a young doppelganger. It's a genius ninja in Konoha, and I like killing genius ninjas the most." Lin was also full of horror, but still threw Kuwu at the two. Bang. Kuwu directly knocked out. Yo, and such a cute little sister, I like it, haha. Kakashi split into three and rushed towards the two. Find death. Suddenly, a vine appeared on their feet and tied them. Huh. What is it? Bang. Bang. Kakashi's two doppelgangers were instantly torn apart. And Kakashi himself widened his eyes, and the Kiri Shinobu on the opposite side, the kunai in his hand, was about to stab his own neck. And his own suffering is not far from the other party's heart, it is a little far. Still failed. At this moment, Kirito's hand was entangled in vines that suddenly appeared, and Kumo wiped Kakashi's face over. And Kakashi's bitterness went straight to the other party's heart. Ugh. Kiri Shinobu's eyes widened, looked at Kakashi, and sat down directly. Kakashi's heart beat faster and he quickly retreated. Killed yourself. At this time, a round of applause appeared behind them. Congratulations, Kakashi, on your first successful killing. This is a ninja's rite of passage. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice, and Feng stood quietly with a smile. What? How is he still alive? The only remaining mist shinobu eyes were about to pop out. And the three people of the 7th class, looking at Feng, who suddenly appeared, all widened their eyes. Kakashi. Lin, Teacher Feng is not dead. Obito, It turned out to be a stand-in. Feng smiled and said, why, isn't it a surprise? And what about the Misty Shinobi, don't solve him. When Kakashi heard this, he immediately looked at the other Kiri Shinobu. Kiri shouted and threw countless shurikens at them. Bang. 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 All the shurikens were blocked by the roots that suddenly appeared. Kakashi's eyes shrank, this is the legendary Muduin. The teacher is so handsome, Rin's eyes lit up. Obito. Kakashi has already opened the meat, then it will be your turn to take the soil, you, as the other boy in the class, now give you a task to kill him. Obito's eyes were about to pop out, what? What do you do with me? Can you be called a ninja without killing? It's tied up like this, if you can't kill it, then you better go home. Chapter 043 Incha. Gauging. Obito was lying on the ground, crying and vomiting, and the Misty Shinobu had fallen in a pool of blood. Lin, who was not far away, couldn't help but vomit, with tears in her eyes. Kakashi was silent, and finally couldn't help but gag a little, and then complained, Obito, can you simply and neatly stab him for more than 10 minutes before stabbing him to death? Feng was also speechless. Obito was really weak, but in the end he completed the task. After this bloody baptism, they should not continue to be in a daze on the battlefield. But looking at these children, isn't it a little too anxious? However, Obito raised his head, and those eyes, blood-red inside, were two hooks of jade rotating around the pupils. Writing will eyes. Groove. Feng was also stunned. Obito was so stimulated by himself that he opened his eyes. Kakashi was still thinking about continuing to complain, but when he saw Obito's eyes, he was also stunned for a moment, and his heart was shocked. Did Teacher Feng deliberately let Obito open the Sharingan? The image of Feng in Kakashi's heart suddenly became tall. Lin said with a worried face, Obito, it's nothing, right? What's nothing? Obito himself is still in the dark. Wait until Obito himself on himself to take a picture of himself to know that he opened the chakra eye. No wonder, I was able to see the flow of chakra. This is the Sharingan. Kakashi next to him couldn't help but envy. I heard that Sharingan can do illusions, will you? Obito snorted and said arrogantly, of course. Then you use it to see. Humph, I'm afraid you will faint if you use it, don't use it first. Feng rolled his eyes, really a little fart who likes to brag. I have to say, is it really the son of luck, so it can also open your eyes? The three of the 7th class were noisy, and finally came to the border of the Fire Nation. In front of you is a bay with a bridge connecting the two ends. On the opposite side of the bridge is the territory of the Land of Water. The Land of Water is a group of islands near the eastern side of the continent, the Land of Fire. In this way, there are 3 or 4 bridges connecting the Land of Water and the Land of Fire. There was a thick fog on the bridge, and there was a faint red color like blood in it, and 5 fingers could not be seen. It's a bit oozing. This is the horror of the blood mist. No wonder people say that the mist-hidden village is shrouded in blood mist all year round. Lin immediately turned around and said, Teacher, there is fog on the bridge in front, do you want to go in? Feng nodded and said, yes, if you don't go in, you plan to swim over. Kakashi said quietly, but there may be someone up there. Feng said lightly, what about someone, no matter who there is no one, you have to go over. Obito stood up, squinted, and suddenly felt a little dizzy. There's a guy up front. Lin next to him said happily, Obito, can you see it? Probably, you can vaguely see the flow of chakra, but it's similar to the 2 fog ninja just now. Saying that, he slipped with his dirt feet and almost fell. Obito, what's wrong with you? It's okay. Feng said lightly, it's okay, don't use so many chakra eyes, be careful of blindness. Ah. Teacher Feng, don't scare me. Obito immediately turned pale. I didn't scare you, it's okay to practice ninjutsu and physical arts more. Ah. Before Obito could enjoy the feeling of being a hero, he was stimulated by Feng's words and felt that he had fallen to the bottom. He thought to himself that Feng must have lied to him, he had never heard of blinding with more chakra eyes. Was Feng jealous that he opened the Sharingan? In fact, Feng didn't remember the details very clearly, but he felt that he should remember correctly. Moreover, along the way just now, Feng probably also knew that there was no one to guide, and Obito now opened the Sharingan, that is, the role of a sentinel, to see if there was a flow of chakra, and then there would be no eggs. As for Kamui, the devil knows when Obito will comprehend it. Where is the enemy? There, right above the bridge. Feng rolled his eyes, you just say it, why are you pointing, you don't scare people away like this. Kakashi, idiot. Ugh. Obito is about to collapse, opened the Sharingan, and was ridiculed. Teacher Feng, you are the devil. In between speaking, the thick fog on the bridge gradually cleared. Feng shrugged and said, look, I'm right, you scared people away. Obito said unconvinced, Teacher, I call this a soldier who submits without a fight. Have you read the Book of Soldiers? You tell me about the Book of War. Have you seen Sun Tzu's Art of War and the Romance of the Three Kingdoms? Obito stupid, what is that? He had never heard of it. I haven't seen anything, pretend to be knowledgeable with me, let's go. Feng flicked Obito's tender forehead, laughed and left. Just as Feng and the others were about to cross the bridge, 3 strange human bodies suddenly drilled out of the ground. Ah. Teacher. The 3 children were shocked when they saw these 3 terrifying white human forms suddenly fuse together and turn into a white weirdo full of spikes. Even Obito, who had just awakened the Sharingan, was so scared that he was on the verge of crying. Feng was suddenly speechless, you just killed someone, can you be bold? When you look at the opposite thing, this is not white. On the way out of Konoha, Yokai always felt that something was missing. Now seeing Baiju, Feng finally figured it out, and during the time he fused the character card between the 1,000-hand pillars, he was not discovered by that undead of Uchiha. It seems that it is not that it was not discovered, but secretly observed. Chapter 044 Baiju can actually fit together. Feng was also very surprised and immediately stood up. He was very interested in this kind of thing that he had heard was cultivated by intercolumn cells, and vaguely remembered that Kishimoto had changed the setting later, and Baiju had become the person who fell into the infinite moon reading launched by Kagaya a long time ago. No matter what, Feng is very curious. You guys back off, let me come. Kakashi, Obito, and Rin watched Night Maple stand up, quickly got out of the way, and all looked at Night Maple. Along the way, they were all very curious about Feng's true strength. Now they are very apprehensive in their hearts, and they want to see the true strength of Feng, and they are afraid that the white weirdo on the opposite side will kill Feng. Teacher, come on. Rin plucked up the courage to cheer Feng on. Feng took the opportunity to touch his head. Both Kakashi and Obito were speechless. At this time, Baiju was already about to rush over, and the spikes on his body were exposed, very hideous. Shuriken Shadow Doppelganger Art. Feng injected chakra into the shuriken in his hand and threw it forward, and then the shuriken shadow appeared tens of thousands of times, shooting at the white Jew in front of him. The 7th class, which was hiding behind Feng, looked at the shuriken in the sky, and its mouth grew big. Wow. Oh. I want to learn ninjutsu like this too. Swish. 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 However, all of these shurikens were pierced at Baiju's body, but they did not seem to have any effect. It seems that the physical attack is not very good, and the physical defense on the opposite side is a bit high. But it seems that Baiju is also good at Muduan. Is my Mudun useful? If Mudun is useless, it will be a vicious battle, and you must try to transfer them. Seeing that Bai was about to pounce, Feng's figure flashed, and he had already picked up the 3 of the 7th class and retreated. Teacher, can't we beat him? Lin was held by Feng, and she was so anxious that she was about to cry. The main thing is that the white weirdo is too ugly. No, you are too weak for fear of hurting you. Feng finished speaking and put them down. At this time, the 7th class found that they had crossed the bridge. A kilometer-long bridge that passed in an instant. This is the strength of the teacher. Kakashi, Obito, and Rin all had shocked expressions. However, in the next second, Feng had already appeared in front of Baiju. Aura Renua first style. Feng suddenly appeared below Baiju, kicked Baiju's chin, and directly kicked Baiju away. Of course, the next action of Table Lianhua was too strange. It was a binding and a hug, and Feng naturally cancelled the next move. The teacher is amazing. Lin's eyes lit up. Kakashi thought to himself, this is Shang Shinobu. Obito couldn't help but say, I will definitely be better than the teacher in the future. Mudun, would dragon art. Night Maple naturally would not give Baiju any chance to react, forming a seal, passing chakra to the seeds of the trees, producing a huge dragon, binding Baiju in the air. At the moment when the wood dragon art trapped Baiju, Feng felt that the wood dragon absorbed a life source from Baiju, in addition to absorbing chakra. It should be the intercolumn cells. Sure enough, white is made of intercolumn cells. In just a few seconds, Baiju was directly sucked by Feng, and finally only a pool of clear liquid dripped on the ground, representing that Baiju once existed. The 3 people of the 7th class who were watching the battle from a distance shivered, and Feng was too terrifying, and directly sucked the opponent white weirdo dry. Feng glanced at it, and the fusion degree was already 57.9%, and this white absolute gave him a fusion degree of 0.3%. If you absorb 1000 for him, you can go from 0% to 100% in an instant. Feng looked at the water traces on the ground and sighed, a little pity. If nothing is figured out, the white is gone. When Feng turned around, he felt that the eyes of the 7th class looking at him were different, and he looked a little scared, and he suddenly cried and laughed. It seems that the situation of sucking Baiju dry just now scared the children. Let's go. Feng thought, Baiju has already appeared, will the spots appear? Not very likely. Because the old Uchiha Ben was in the Battle of Shinwubi Bridge, he did not dare to appear in front of the Wave Feng Shui Gate. By the time he rescued Obito, they all looked so old that they were about to hang up. It can be seen that there was not much of his strength left at that time. This stage, this time, should be the beginning of the Ninja World War. It should not be too long before the Battle of Shinwubi Bridge, it may be 3 or 5 years, and no more than 10 years at most. In this way, the current Uchiha spot is also in the age spot stage. Even, Feng thought deeper, maybe after Yujibwa escaped in suspended animation, he had long been gone, and he was just holding on. Otherwise, why did the Ninja World War I, the Ninja World War II, and when there was such turmoil, Uchiha did not dare to appear as his body? Even if the second-generation Senju was seriously injured and died, when Sarutobi took over, Konoha's situation was so chaotic, and Uchiha did not return to Konoha to make trouble. Just dared to engage in small actions and train their successors, Nagato and Obito. I'm afraid that Uchiha is not very confident in his strength and will not come forward in person. At most, send white and black to test it. The night maple is more than 50% fused, and it is definitely not worth it to face age spots. In a cave somewhere, it was extremely dark, and an old man with a broken wind and candle sat on a stone throne, with several huge pipes connected behind him, extending to the huge golem behind him. This old man is Uchiha. Baiju came out of the wall and said, Madara-sama, that night maple is very strong. You mean the one who was recognized by Uzumaki Mito as the last bloodline of the Senju clan? Yes. His strength is very strong, moreover, he can absorb us, and the three whites will not be there in 10 seconds. A trace of essence flashed in Uchiha's eyes. He is going to Wuin Village. Yes. Baiju, he can absorb 3, do you think 1,000, 10,000? As soon as the words fell, the dark place, just under the outer path golem, the dense white absolute opened his eyes in an instant, at least tens of thousands. Chapter 045 Konoha Village, Hokage Office. Boom. 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 Come in. The door opened and Orochimaru walked in. Teacher, you called me. Ape Fei Re-Chop nodded and said, yes, Great Snake Pill, I want to ask, you have studied Mudun for so long, under what circumstances do you think that the wood dragon art will absorb Baiju completely? The big snake pill was stunned for a moment and said, Baiju. You mean that white inhuman thing that we caught 5 years ago? Ape Fei Re-Chopper nodded and said, yes, that thing attacked Yefeng today. The big snake pill's eyes suddenly lit up, full of radiance. Are you saying that Yifeng's wood dragon technique has absorbed Baiju completely? Yes, the people of the Ministry of Intelligence said so, and also took a few photos. Saying that, Sarutobi pushed the photo in front of the big snake pill. In these photos, it is obvious that Baiju is shrinking. White absorption. Could it be that Baiju's body is the cells of the first generation of adults? Orochimaru said excitedly, it is very likely that that thing was formed by the cells of the first generation of adults, so that it can explain why it can hide in the land and trees and escape. It's a pity, it's gone. The big snake pill felt that Baiju's body was full of research value. There may still be. The big snake pill saw the earliest photo again, although the picture was not clear, but he could also see that it was 3 white absolutes. This is a group of conspecifics. Orochimaru was stunned. Then, Sarutobi patted the transparent beaker covered next to him. Here is the last liquid left by Baiju. The big snake pill's eyes suddenly lit up and he reached over. Syllable. Orochimaru's hand was knocked off. Ape Fei re-smiled and said, Big snake pill, you go to do something first, come back, this thing is for you. What's going on? Go to Yunin Village and bring Tuan Zong back. Orochimaru squinted his eyes and said, Teacher, are you in some trouble? Sarutobi smiled and said, according to our chants, Tuanzo should get a little loot back, such as Neo. The big snake pill's pupils shrank, 2 tails. Isn't Laying going to chase and kill again? Not long ago, he was hammered by the thunder shadow, and the big snake pill didn't want to try it a second time. Ape Fei re-smiled and said, you don't need to put too much pressure, you just need to support Tuan Zong this time. Laying I will deal with it, the old man has not been active for a few years. The big snake pill has not calmed the waves in his heart. Teacher, we are equivalent to deceiving Yunin Village. Deception. This is the lesson they learned from infiltrating our Konoha to snatch the future Ninetales pillar force. Sarutobi smiled and shook his head. We in Konoha don't come when they want to, and they can leave if they want. Teacher, am I going now? No hurry, 3 days soon, a week later, during this time, you will be by my side for the time being. The big snake pill nodded. He also understood that after he knew this news, he could not walk out of the sight of the ape-flying sun. This is the rule. Teacher, can you give me a study of that thing? No, you study it, there is no day or night, and when the time comes, you will miss a big thing. Orochimaru was depressed. Step into the land of water, and a humid sea breeze blows in your face. Obito said excitedly, "Teacher, next, what are we going to do, kill into the misty hidden village?" Yefeng glanced at Obito and said, "Can you kill chickens, or ducks? Also kill into the mist-hidden village, wait until you can kill it yourself." Obito suddenly said unconvinced, "Teacher, I am a genius ninja of the Uchiha family who opened the Sharingan." Yefeng glanced at the woods in front of him and said, "Okay, the genius ninja of the Uchiha family, you go up, someone is coming." It was actually discovered. Suddenly, a large knife cut through the grass, revealing the figure inside. It was a hideous-looking man with a shark-like face, skin color, and sharp teeth. A mist shinobu next to him pointed at Ikid and said, "Oni lord, that's them, and one of the little guys is the Sharingan of the Uchiha clan." Feng was slightly stunned, dried persimmon ghost mackerel. Looking at his big knife, it is just an ordinary big knife, not a bandaged mackerel. And people are also very young. It seems that he has not yet become a member of the Ninja Knife 7. Oni stared at Yokai and said, "Konoha ninja, you know me?" "Of course I know, the famous Sharkman." Obito looked at Feng, and then looked at the Sharkman on the opposite side, and his legs were frightened. Yokai also touched Obito's head and said, "Go on, the genius ninja of the Uchiha family." Obito's legs were trembling, and he was about to cry, on the up. His chakra eyes saw that the man on the opposite side, the chakra on his body, was 10 times stronger than those ninjas before. It looked so fierce, wouldn't he be killed by a knife when he went up? Kakashi also took out the kunai and stared at the dried persimmon on a mackerel, feeling that the atmosphere was very dignified. Feng was still saying, "You guys go out, you must hide your strength, don't show off at every turn, you see that Obito is recognized all of a sudden, others know that you are the Uchiha family, when the time comes, specifically kill you and gouge your eyes." Lin couldn't laugh or cry, Teacher Yefeng is good everywhere, but he likes to play tricks and bring soil too much. Chapter 046 Obito originally thought that Yefeng was playing tricks on him, and the dry persimmon ghost mackerel was such a terrifying look, he didn't want to fight with the dry persimmon ghost mackerel. But Yefeng immediately retreated 10 meters, allowing Obito to stand in the front. "Haha, really interesting, are you trying to train newcomers? I'll let all of you die here, cut off all your feet, and throw them to feed the sharks." Yefeng smiled, "Feed the sharks? If you feed more sharks, you will always be fed sharks one day. Find death." Dried persimmon ghost mackerel whole body chakra eruption. Kakashi's eyes widened, and the kunai in his hand immediately struck. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel swung the big sword in his hand, instantly cut off the oncoming Ku-Wu, and then slashed towards Obito. Ugh! Obito screamed, and the whole person sat on the ground, but accidentally escaped. Mainly the vines that emerged from the feet of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel slightly stopped the dried persimmon ghost mackerel a little. That's it a little bit, rubbing the scalp with dirt and passing. It's just that the hair on the top of the head with soil is connected to the scalp and is directly cut off. Instant baldness. Yefeng couldn't help but laugh. Obito cried directly. His eyes were full of panic, it turned out that Yefeng really wouldn't save him. It's terrifying. Kakashi cursed, "Obito, you shot." The dried persimmon ghost mackerel laughed and said, "Little ghost, you only know how to cry, go to death, if you want to blame you waste adults for not saving you." Just under the existential crisis, Obito's chakra eyes turned, and he blocked the big knife of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel with the kunai in his hand. And Yefeng's figure also suddenly appeared in front of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, stopping the dried persimmon ghost mackerel. And the big knife of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel is still smashed into the bitterness of the soil because of inertia. Bang! Obito's whole body flew out upside down, feeling that his entire arm was completely unconscious. "Obito, it's good, you blocked the blow of Shangnan, it's worth praise." Obito was stunned for a moment, and looked back, "Teacher." Looking ahead, another teacher was fighting with the terrifying Sharkman. "That's a doppelganger." "Obito, I'll help you heal." Rin hurriedly came up to use the healing technique on Obito, concentrated chakra in the palm of her hand, and aimed it at Obito's arm to heal. Obito looked at Rin's appearance and couldn't help but be in a daze, feeling his arm contained in a warm stream of heat. "Okay." Lin pouted and said, "Teacher, isn't it too dangerous for you to do this?" Obito's arm almost broke it. Obito heard Rin care about himself like this, and his heart suddenly warmed, thinking of becoming a Hokage in the future and marrying Rin as a wife. Of course, this is just wishful thinking on the part of a small otaku. Feng smiled and said, "It's not dangerous, can you grow?" On the battlefield, the scalp of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel is numb. A doppelganger actually beat himself so that he couldn't fight back. Just when the dry persimmon ghost mackerel was about to use his trick, water escape bursting water rushing wave, to completely turn this place into a piece of Wangyang, Feng suddenly retreated. Yokai said, "Kakashi, it's your turn, this is a very good opportunity to exercise." The blue-gray face of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel also showed an ugly look. This guy actually regarded himself as a sparring partner for these three little ghosts. Kakashi nodded and said, "Okay, sensei, I'm just trying to use my latest trick." Lay done. With Kakashi's loud gulp, a dazzling thunderlight appeared in the short sword in his hand, very dazzling, making a sound that seemed like 1,000 birds were screaming. Yiki's eyes also lit up. Kakashi was so young, he created Chidori himself. "Little ghost, it's kind of interesting." The dried persimmon Oni laughed, and his figure flashed, kicking Kakashi away. Kakashi was handsome for only 3 seconds, and he smashed directly on the ground, spitting blood from his mouth. Feng was embarrassed. This move looks handsome, but Kakashi is still too small, and the trick reading seconds bar is a bit long, and it was interrupted before the move. Kakashi. Rin immediately used healing on Kakashi, and at the same time, Obito threw his shuriken at the dried persimmon Oniko, not as stupidly as before. Feng, who was watching the battle next to him, nodded in satisfaction. After Feng's previous training for them, now that they encounter battles, they will at least not be in a hurry and can play their due role. The only thing that was a little funny was the hair with soil, which was directly leveled by the dried persimmon ghost mackerel. Obito threw shuriken and kunai while crying again. His hair was so gone, and he just took a look in Lin's mirror, it was so ugly, and Lin didn't like herself. Ugh! The dried persimmon ghost mackerel is furious. Water escape, burst water rush. As soon as the dried persimmon ghost mackerel's voice fell, countless streams of water erupted from his mouth in an instant, and the huge water quickly covered this woodland. Then a huge lake appeared in front of everyone. Everyone was trapped by this huge lake, as if they were inside a huge swimming pool. Obito, Rin, and Kakashi's faces all changed, and they all looked at Yikide. They've never been in a situation like this. Feng didn't expect that the dried persimmon ghost mackerel was so strong at this time. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel laughed cruelly at Feng's few people. "Now that you are dead, in this battlefield that completely belongs to me, next, you will obediently wait here for death, slowly struggling in the abyss of this sea." The dried persimmon ghost mackerel laughed arrogantly. Water escape water dragon bullet technique. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel burst out, and chakra immediately formed a shark-like water bomb and flew towards the position of the three people. Muduanmu ingot wall. Feng's hands were sealed, and a row of wooden pillars bent from the ground to form arches behind him, blocking him and the 7th class. Bang! 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 The water mackerel bomb hit the wall of the wooden ingot released by the night maple and dissipated directly. But the dried persimmon mackerel is not worried. Because in the water, his chakra sharks are endless. And it was only a matter of time before this wooden ingot wall, which was slightly fragile to him, destroyed it. Lin said worriedly, "Teacher Feng, that guy's shark seems to be endless as long as there is enough chakra on the water." Obito opened the Sharingan, nodded and said, "Teacher, his chakra has not decreased, but has increased." Kakashi looked at Feng speechlessly. "Teacher, it's all this time, aren't you serious yet?" Feng shook his head and said, "No, I'm just thinking about how to break through his explosive water rush." Mu done, birth of the tree realm. I saw the earth rumble, and the ground cracked, countless spider web cracks and shook. Densely packed small saplings break through the ground and grow wildly at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into a dense forest in a blink of an eye. The trees in all directions stretch out their hideous and thick branches like life. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel's eyes are about to pop out. The lake caused by his bursting water instantly seeped into the crack in the ground and disappeared. What kind of trick is this? When did Konoha come out with such a monster? The first reaction of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel is to escape. He can't beat this man. Chapter 047. However, the dried persimmon ghost mackerel had not yet run out, and was instantly surrounded by countless tree roots and vines. Swish. 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 The dried persimmon ghost mackerel cut off the root vine in front, and the root vine in the back drilled out again. Obito also shouted, "Go and die. Shark monster." Then Obito and Kakashi's kunai held in their hands shot towards each other. At the same time, Feng's shadow avatar also kicked towards the dry persimmon ghost mackerel fiercely. So. The reaction of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel was also extremely fast, his body shook, and several kunai pieces were inserted into his cheeks. The reason why he inserted it was because he didn't have the strength to pay attention to the 7th class at all, but was preoccupied with dodging Feng's attack. "Abominable little ghost, you wait." With a kunai stuck in his head, the dry persimmon ghost mackerel shouted angrily, and quickly turned around and ran. However, countless tree roots and vines continued to drill out and directly surrounded him. Obito laughed and said, "Haha, shark monster, I'll make you arrogant again." Kakashi rolled his eyes. Lin watched from the side, her eyes sparkling as she looked at Feng's back, and suddenly felt that Feng's back was very tall. Originally, she felt that Feng was too bloody, and she wanted to take the soil to kill. But now it seems that in these few short days, there are probably more changes in the soil than in the past year. And her own thinking has changed a lot. All this comes from teacher Feng. Ugh. Suddenly, the dry persimmon ghost mackerel, which was wrapped in rice dumplings, roared angrily, and actually broke the roots and vines of the tree. Bang. With a loud bang, tree roots and vines flew, and the dried persimmon ghost mackerel fled directly into the forest. Sure enough, it's a tailed beast, comparable to the power of the tailed beast. Let's chase. Feng sighed and hurriedly chased after him. The birth of the tree realm is very awesome, but as long as you escape this range and catch up, it is a little difficult. And the dried persimmon ghost mackerel belongs to the type of tired people who run and run fast. Teacher. Lin hurriedly stopped Feng. Feng saw that Lin was not walking fast, and directly picked up Lin, the little lowly, with one hand. Rin immediately blushed a little shyly. "Teacher, wait for me." Obito immediately shouted. Of course, Feng didn't have any special thoughts about Lin, the little lowly. "You're too slow, Lin, what did you just say?" Lin blushed slightly and said, "Teacher, isn't our task to find that little girl? How did it become chasing and killing Mist Shinobi? Let's catch up first." They Mist Shinobu appeared here, which means that they are also searching, maybe they already have clues. Lin heard Feng's explanation and nodded convincingly, so it is, the teacher is really thoughtful. In fact, Feng just wanted to fight, but he also had to find a reasonable reason. Shadow doppelganger art. Night Maple froze, leaving a shadow doppelganger behind, taking care of Obito and Kakashi, who couldn't keep up, and then hugged Rin and chased after him. No way, the tailless tailed beast of the dry persimmon ghost mackerel runs too fast, and if you don't chase a little closer, you will really lose it. "Teacher, wait!" Obito shouted, and when he saw Feng, he left a shadow doppelganger. Kakashi is also speechless. Teacher Feng is too unreliable, and he is suspected of being a lolicon. While fleeing, the dry persimmon ghost mackerel turned around, and when he saw Feng and Rin, his eyes were about to pop out. What kind of monster is this, holding a little girl, and chasing so tightly? It's terrifying. You have to ask Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost Lord, Loquat Juzosama. These Ninja Dao 7 people joining forces may not be able to solve this monster. Thinking of this, the dried persimmon ghost mackerel still ran quickly in the direction of the 7 people of the ninja knife. After all, he knew that the 7 people of the Ninja Dao, the 7 adults, were still acting together, and if they separated, they would be broken one by this monster when the time came, and it would be even worse. After chasing for 5 minutes, the dry persimmon ghost mackerel felt that it was about to run out, and when he looked back, he saw that Feng was still behind. Damn it, where is the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost? I'm dying of exhaustion. Feng chased behind, and was also very surprised. So young, it didn't look like a 20-year-old dry persimmon ghost mackerel, it was so energetic. Is it through 1 or 2 lakes and can be accelerated by using water escape? The chakra in the body seems to be inexhaustible. Feng was suddenly curious. This should be the blood succession limit, right? At this time, not far ahead, the birds were startled, followed by a burst of laughter, which shook the entire forest. The dried persimmon ghost mackerel's eyes suddenly lit up, and the adults of the 7 people of the ninja knife were in front. When he looked back, Feng was still chasing him, and suddenly showed a terrified look, but he laughed loudly in his heart. Chase, chase. You'll die later. I'm going to cut off your feet to feed the sharks. Chapter 048. In the forest ahead, Makoto Uchiha carries a student, Haruno Zhao carries 2 students, all 3 of whom are students in the last class, all unconscious. Followed by Matkai, Buchi Fire String, and Ebisu third shift, they are shuttling through the woods at a very fast speed. Suddenly, all of them stopped. In front of them, 7 people of varying fatness and thinness, both in appearance and with weapons in their hands, were extremely strange, stopped them. The mist shinobu who was chasing and killing behind also fell, and said to these 7 strange people, the 7 people of the ninja sword, the 7 adults, they are the Konoha ninjas lurking in, and they seem to be looking for something. Very good, catch them, unexpectedly, there are beautiful ninjas from Konoha, we like it the most. Hey, it's my turn to try it first this time, right? Fart, I've been empty several times. The face of Haruno Zhao, the middle ninja teacher at the head, changed drastically, the 7 people of the ninja sword in the mist-hidden village. There are 7 ninja swords, but the most elite upper ninja among the mist ninja, each of them has a bloody weapon and kills countless people, which are Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, Loquat Juzo, Chestnut Skewer Maru, Tsukusa Wild Bateman, No Pair Shinhachi, Black Ho Thunder Tooth, and Ghost Lantern Thousand Blades. There were 7 people in front of me. Makoto Uchiha was equally pale, and these weirdos looked into her eyes as if they were going to eat him. How come? They are the Ninja Dao 7 of Mist-Hidden Village. Wasn't it led away? Haruno Zhao said in a deep voice, I don't know, what accident may have happened? Accident. Such an accident, we will all die here. Uchiha Makoto suddenly remembered Yokai in her heart, and when she was leaving, she gave her an amulet to carry with her. Her hand grabbed it in her pocket and took out the amulet. Matkai, Buchi Fire String, and Ebisu 3 who had just graduated were also trembling with fear. Oops, we're surrounded. You can't escape at all. The tall and thin masked man standing at the front made a hoarse voice, I didn't expect us to be so prestigious. Even the children of Konoha Village know. Although you don't have a lot of blood, only a little, but the knife is a little rusty, you must let it suck blood to replenish the iron element. Makoto Uchiha hurriedly blocked in front of the 3 students, gritting her teeth. What to do, only us, not his opponent at all. Feng-kun, where are you? At this moment, a figure appeared. Uchiha Makoto was overjoyed. It won't be Feng coming to save himself, right? Turning his head, Uchiha Makoto was stunned. Ah, finally caught up. A strange guy dressed in green, with a weird black hairstyle and a green glow all over his body, suddenly appeared. Kai, the student behind her, suddenly shouted, Dad, why are you here? As a father of shinobi, how could he appear here? Father. Everyone looked at the comer, stunned. The one who came was Matkai's father, Mat Dai, an unremarkable shinobi. Mater Dai said in a deep voice, Don't say it, you guys run away, we'll buy time. Kai said anxiously, You said let's escape, but Dad, the other side is Shangnan, and it's still the Ghost Dao 7. Just by relying on your father, you can't resist it at all. Let's go, Kai, don't forget that I still have the 8 gates of death. Kai was stunned for a moment and muttered, but in that case, Dad will. Mater Dai turned around and smiled at Kai, giving a thumbs up, that's self-restraint, and now is the time to swear to death and keep what matters most to you. In Kai's mind, what Mat Dai said to himself, the so-called real victory is not to defeat the strong, but to protect what is most important to you. At this time, the 7 people of the Ninja Dao on the opposite side laughed out loud. Laugh at me, a Konoha shinobi is funny here, right? Your hairstyle has long been killed in our Wuin village. Yo, it seems that it is a physical practice, come on, punch me and try. Mater Dai coldly looked at Orochimaru, who laughed at him, and said, If I punch you, you will die. Orochimaru suddenly laughed out loud, and said to the other ninja 7 behind him, he said that he would die if he punched me, come on. You can't kill me, I want you and your son to die. Mater Dai turned his head and waved his hand to signal Makoto Uchiha to go with them. Suddenly, in the clear sky, a light rain began to fall. Mater's whole body was like steel burning red, and his skin burned red. At this time, Everyone found that it was not the light rain just now, but the heat emitted in Mater Dai's body was too large, causing the surrounding water to be rapidly evaporated, thus involving countless fine water lines. Open, 8-gate dun jia rei. Mater Dai roared, and the momentum of his whole body suddenly exploded. 8 doors dun jia 8th gate of death, open. Open door, rest door, birth door, wounded door, do door, Jing gate, shock door, death door, collectively known as 8 doors. By unlocking the 8 gates that bind chakra in the human body, you can temporarily gain great power. When the 8 doors are fully opened, you can instantly obtain dozens of times the power above the 5 shadows. After opening the door of death, he will also die because his life force burns out. Bang! The ground was shaking, and time seemed to freeze in this instant. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost suddenly shouted, "Chestnut shot weed pill retreats quickly." Kirishimaru, what? Steam fiery red, chakra fiery red, and the whole body fiery red Mater Dai instantly came to the chestnut shrapnel pill and threw out a punch. Everyone couldn't see clearly, only saw a fiery red shadow streaked by, and the fist had come out. Syllable. A dull sound. Orochimaru's eyes widened, and in the next second, it exploded. Blood splattered everywhere, and the whole body exploded into countless fragments. Both sides are stupid. What is this situation? A shinobi instantly burst the 7 people of the ninja knife. Only Matt Kai is silently crying, "Dad is right, his 8-door Dunjia can really be killed in seconds." The ninja knife 7 instantly turned into the ninja knife 6, and the other 6 immediately stepped back and looked at Mater Dai, who was like a hungry ghost in hell with great horror. At this time, another exclamation came from outside the woods, "Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost Lord! Help me!" The dried persimmon ghost mackerel had just emerged from the woods and saw a ghost-like person with a red chakra all over his body. Who is this? Before reacting, the dried persimmon ghost mackerel instantly flew out upside down, crashed into an unknown number of trees, and had disappeared into the woods. Yefeng and Lin had just chased in when they saw Mater Dai make a move. This person wore green clothes, a strange black hairstyle, red steam all over his body, and his skin turned red, like a beast-like look. Yifeng was slightly stunned. Triumphant. No, it's Kai's father. Matt Dai. A man who bursts the ninja knife 7. Yifeng did not expect to be able to witness the scene with his own eyes. Matt wore 8 doors wide open, kicked the dried persimmon ghost mackerel to death, and directly changed the history behind the Hokage. Without the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, the Shao organization would be incomplete, and how much change the plot would have in the future, even Yefeng didn't know. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 choices. Option 1, at the fastest speed, together with Matt Dai, behead all 7 people of the ninja knife. Reward, A-level ninjutsu, 8-door Duinjia formation plus A-level physical art towards Peacock. Option 2, as a bystander, witness the most brilliant fireworks of this era, and watch the 8 doors open and wear the beheading ninja knife of the 7. Then kill the survivors. Rewards, A-level ninjutsu, 8-door Duinjia Ray plus A-level physical art Night Phoenix. Option 3, prevent Dai Bayman from opening wide and leave all 7 ninja blades behind. Rewards, Met's favor plus 100, Metkai's favorites plus 100, Uchiha Mikoto's favorites plus 30. Yifeng felt very unreasonable. Yikai, who opened the 8 doors, is obviously a god-level existence that almost killed Bani, at least an S-level figure. Why is the 8-gate Dun Jia Rei an A-grade ninjutsu? For these 3 options, Yefeng did not have any hesitation and directly chose to prevent Dai from continuing to open the 8 doors. These 3 options are deceptive. Chao Peacock and Night Phoenix are both physical techniques specially opened with the 8 gates Dun Jia Rei, and they are both physical techniques handed down by Mater Dai. Mater Dai is still there, and any ninjutsu in his family can be consulted, which should not be a problem. But if the person hangs up, then there is nothing. Besides, Yefeng felt that Mater Dai might not be a simple subordinate. With such strength, someone who can create an 8-door Duinjia Rei will be an ordinary ninja. I'm afraid there are still hidden secrets. As for Mikoto's favor plus 30, Yokai didn't pay attention at all. Chapter 049 Mater Dai, let me come. Yefeng suddenly joined the battlefield and put Lin down. Mater Dai looked at Yifeng, full of doubts. I'm Yifeng, I'm very tolerant, it's okay, just leave it to me, cancel the 8-gate dunjia, otherwise you will die. Materdai shook his head and said, let's go. Opposite is the ninja sword 7. Saying that, Materdai is about to strike again. Hey! Yifeng sighed, not showing off his strength. Materdai didn't believe in himself. Muda Flower Tree Realm has arrived. This is a newly comprehended S-level ninjutsu after fusing 50% of the character cards between the 1,000-hand pillars and the enhanced version of the Birth of the Tree Realm. This technique uses one's chakra as nourishment, causing the trees that sleep in the ground to grow rapidly and become larger, and to be able to manipulate these trees freely. With Yifeng's order, the ground instantly cracked. With a loud bang, the entire ground shook. What was originally a wood, instantly turned into a huge basin, sunken into it. The bulging trunks of trees under the ground will cut through mountains, cut through rocks, and envelop the entire ground. Change the terrain in one fell swoop. This is the strength of the 1,000-hand pillar, and it is only 50% of the strength. And several bright flowers will grow on the trees that grow rapidly, and as soon as the flowers are opened, they can produce toxic pollen, and once they inhale pollen, they will faint due to paralysis. The Ninja Dao 7 who were originally going to retreat, now the Ninja Dao 6, all confined to the newly formed basin. This is Mu Duan. Who is this person? So young, is Konoha's newest genius ninja. There is no information about this person at all. Mikoto also quickly put down the student on her shoulder, and her beautiful eyes looked at Yifeng's back, a little distracted. Haruno Zhao was also stunned. None of them really saw Yifeng's move. Who would have thought that as soon as he made a move? Now the people on both sides are all confused. This guy is too fierce, right? Materdai was also shocked by Yifeng's sudden burst of momentum, and glanced back at Yifeng, before disarming the 8-gate dunjia array. As soon as it was lifted, I immediately sat down. At this time, everyone found that Materdai's right hand and right foot had been broken. Just now, he punched the chestnut shrapnel pill, and stepped on the dried persimmon ghost mackerel, but in just an instant, his hands and feet were broken, and the horror of the 8 doors of dunjia was fully opened. Dad. At this time, Kai, who was still a child, rushed up. Materdai touched Kai's head and said, "It's okay." After saying this, Materdai fainted. Dad. Yifeng glanced at the elementary school student Kai and said, "Your father just fainted, his life is not in danger, but his hands and feet are broken." Teacher. Save my dad. Yokai looked at Uchiha Mikoto behind him and said, "Mikoto, you help me treat him, I'm going to catch these 6 people first." Oh, okay. As soon as Uchiha Mikoto's words fell, Yokai's figure had disappeared. And the 6 people of the Ninja Dao saw that something was wrong and quickly retreated. The arrival of the Flower Tree Realm is not something that ordinary ninjas can use, they have never seen such a terrifying ninjutsu. It must be the blood succession boundary, a terrifying existence like their second-generation water shadow. Let's go. There's no need to pester with them. Yes. The 6 members of the Ninja Dao immediately separated and retreated. At this time, hundreds of night maple doppelgangers suddenly appeared in the air. The art of multiple shadow avatars. At the same time, countless tree roots and vines began to surround the 6 people of the Ninja Dao. It's as if a super-giant pitcher plant is preying on flies. Mikoto Uchiha couldn't help but be dumbfounded. "Mikoto-sensei, don't look at it, save my father." Mikoto suddenly blushed, glared at Kai, and began to treat Materdai. Lin also came over and said, "I can also do a little healing." Kai looked at Lin, who looked like a porcelain doll, and his eyes were about to pop out. You too." Rin nodded, crouched down, and used the healing technique on Materdai. Mikoto asked curiously, "You're from Yokage's class?" "Yes, sensei, I'm Rin Nohara from the 7th class." Lin said obediently. "It's so cute." On Yifeng's side, the battle was almost over. Among the 7 people of the ninja knife, a man in black with 2 knives in his hand controlled the thunder knife and teeth, and the thunder and lightning swept wildly, and the roots and vines of the trees close to him were all electrocuted. This person is none other than Black Ho. Yifeng's doppelganger was about to rush up to take him down. Suddenly, a sharp and slender knife drilled out, instantly piercing the 3 night maple doppelgangers. Then a sound of silk threads rubbing was heard, and as Orochimaru pulled the silk threads, the three doppelgangers were torn to shreds. Bang. 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 However, a night maple doppelganger on the other side of the chestnut Tripushy pill burst out dazzling thunder light in his hand, making a sound like 1,000 birds screaming, which was very harsh, and instantly rushed towards the chestnut Tripushy pill. Thunder Chidori. Although it is only LV3, it is already proficient. Before Orochimaru could react, his right arm had been removed. Black Ho Thundertooth saw that Orochimaru was injured, and also stabbed through the doppelganger who injured Orochimaru. But the two of them were raised by more doppelgangers. In less than 5 minutes, all 6 people in the ninja knife were injured. Yi Feng's shadow avatars are hundreds and thousands, purely bullying. The worst thing is not the chestnut string pill, but the ghost lamp Thousand Blade, which was directly stunned by the thunder thousand birds of the night Feng, and then directly beheaded. Yi Feng himself did not expect this to be the case. Uchiha Mikoto wiped her sweat, glanced up at the battlefield, and lost her mind slightly. The 7 people of the ninja knife who couldn't beat themselves at all, in front of Yi Feng, it was like beating a child. That's too big a difference. Haruno Xiaoya's body trembled slightly and said, "This is our original bloodline inheritor, it's too strong. The Thousand Hands clan is too powerful." At this time, the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and Loquat Juzo roared angrily, "Water escape, mist hidden art." This is the ninjutsu used by the Mist Shinobi Upper Shinobi, which uses chakra to roll up the water to create a dense fog that flickers in the white world, which is the art of mist concealment. The concentration of fog changes due to the amount of chakra, and they often use this ninjutsu for assassinations. But now, this assassination technique has become an escape technique. Yi Feng suddenly smiled, "If you want to escape, it's impossible. I have to ask, do you know the whereabouts of Xiaomei?" Chapter 050. In less than 10 minutes, the 7 people of the ninja knife died 2 people in a row, and they all became the 5 people of the ninja knife. They are already unwilling to fight, and want to create a thick fog to escape. But no amount of dense fog can run away from hundreds of doppelgangers. They had just run out of the thick fog when they found countless doppelgangers standing in front of them. At this time, the foreheads of the 5 people of the ninja Dao were constantly sweating. Damn, how can anyone tell so many shadow doppelgangers? And every shadow avatar is so strong. When did such a powerful young ninja appear in Konoha? Loquat Juzo couldn't help but ask, "Konoha ninja, what's your name? If you are caught, you will naturally know." Saying that, Yi Feng has already made a move. Facing the endless doppelganger, the 5 people of the ninja Dao trembled all over. Fight. Water done, water bomb. Water escape, water dragon bullet technique. Water escape, water break. However, before they could use it, they were surrounded by a blanket of tree roots and vines. Instantly strangled. Ugh. One by one, they were tied up and ended the fight. When Yi Feng returned with 5 rice dumplings, everyone was stunned. Especially Mikoto Uchiha, her eyes wandered as she looked at Ikide, and her heartbeat accelerated a little. The moment Yi Feng used the flower tree realm just now, he was really handsome. "Will you interrogate?" Uchiha Mikoto shook her head, while Haruno said, I can try." Yi Feng nodded and said, "Yes, ask them, what is the purpose of coming here, and also, knowing that I don't know where Xiaomei is, if I say it, there may be a way to live, and if I don't say anything, I won't be able to die happily." Haruno Zhao nodded and said, "Yes, my lord." Now, Haruno Zhao was completely convinced of Yi Feng. Too strong. Strong is strength. In the face of absolute strength, everything else is secondary. However, before Haruno Zhao walked in front of the 5 Zongzi, one of the biggest Zongzi immediately said, "Sir, I say. We're here to shine the beauty." "Oh, it's the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost." Yi Feng immediately let go of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and looked at him curiously. Immediately someone roared, "Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, you betrayed the Fog Ninja, the crime deserves death." Noisy. Yi Feng snorted, and the talking Zongzi instantly tightened. Ugh. There was a scream, and the people inside had no breath. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost immediately shivered, looked at Yi Feng, did not dare to resist, and quickly said, "We came here, indeed found the approximate whereabouts of Xiaomei, but we can't determine the location." "Is it? Who can determine the location?" We can't determine the place, but the approximate location has been determined. As long as you look for it, you will definitely be able to find it. Feng nodded and said, very good, then you too. Take us to find Terumi, and I can give you a way to live. Really? You didn't lie to us. Is it necessary to lie to you? As soon as Feng's words came out, the other two also hurriedly said, I can also lead the way. Me too. Feng shook his head and said, it's too late, your consciousness is not enough. As soon as the words fell, the two rice dumplings instantly tightened, and soon there was no breath inside. Kai and the other children looked at Yokai with a look of awe and horror in their eyes. As newcomers who had just graduated, under the guidance of Haruno Zhao, they did not let Kakashi and Obito kill people like Yokai, so it was the first time they saw people die in front of them so closely. Their faces changed, and they vomited directly to the side. Mikoto also frowned, feeling that Feng was too murderous. Haruno Zhao next to him took the initiative to explain for Feng, the 7 people of the ninja knife are all names piled up with human lives, and in the mist-hidden village, children cannot dare to cry at night, and in their hands, I am afraid that there are also many lives of Konoha ninjas, and even the lives of your families and friends. Do not use your own kindness to the cruelty of your enemies, it is a foolish thing for yourself. The newly liberated Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost immediately shivered when they heard this. Feng said lightly, of course, the two of you are a deal, as long as you can find Xiaomei, I will naturally keep my promise. Okay, I also believe in the credibility of your Konoha ninjas. Feng smiled, can you two have the qualifications to disbelieve now? At this time, a voice came from the edge of the basin, teacher, where are you? It was Kakashi and Obito who arrived. After the fight, they finally arrived. Here. Obito saw that the basin was tens of meters high, and suddenly took 2 steps back in fright, not daring to look down. Kakashi also frowned, how can he go down so high? Wait a minute, let's go up. Saying that, Feng used Mudun first and sent the others up. Then go up yourself. Of course, the Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost went up by themselves. Kakashi and Obito were both startled to see the huge Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, and the most important thing was that both of them were Mist Shinobu. Feng explained, the two of them are tour guides. Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost are full of resentment in their hearts, guide your whole family. We have 7 people who have been tour guides. Thinking about it, their hearts are full of sadness. Now it's 2 ninja knives. 2 people, can they still become a crowd? At this time, a golden flash suddenly arrived. Ah! Am I late? Feng nodded and said, yes, Watergate, you are late, and you said that you went to stop the elite of Wuin Village, and as a result, the 7 people of the Ninja Dao came. Sorry, we were scammed. Okay, then you can quickly send Mater Dai back to Konoha for treatment. I send it. Although Watergate does not despise Xia Shinobi, but at this time, is it a bit of a laborer to send a Xia Shinobi back? Looking closely, it was Mater Dai, and this person was a little special. Watergate glanced at Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and said, what about you? Let's go find Terumi. They know where Terumi is. Watergate nodded and whispered in Feng's ear, now there is something wrong with Wuin Village, find it as soon as possible, go early and return early. Got it. Then I'll go. After the Watergate finished speaking, he picked up Mat Dai, and his figure flashed, and he had disappeared. About 1,000 meters away from Feng, the lower body of the dry persimmon ghost mackerel was completely broken, lost consciousness, and crawled back to Wuin Village with his hands sweating. I can't die. Feng didn't expect that the vitality of the dried persimmon ghost mackerel was so tenacious, and after eating 8 doors and wearing a kick, he was half defeated, and crawled back. Mist Hidden Village, Water Shadow Office. The 3rd generation of Water Shadows, whose names have never been revealed in history, have long black hair, ornaments on their heads, and are used to closing their eyes. Shortly after the death of the 2nd generation of Water Shadow, it was he who implemented the Blood Mist policy on the Mist Hidden Village under the lure of Jerry. Many people in later generations believe that it was the 4th generation of Water Shadow Citrus Yukura who began the Blood Mist. In fact, when Obito was saved by Madara, the Blood Mist had been practiced for a long time, and that was when the 3rd generation of Water Shadow reigned. The 3rd generation of Water Shadow heard the information of the Dark Shinobu of the Mist Hidden Village, and showed a shocked look. What do you say? All 7 people of the ninja sword were destroyed. Yes, Lord Mizukage. Konoha Ascension is here? Or White Fang? Lord Mizukage, neither, is a young shinobi with no information at all. He will use the original Hokage's wooden dun. You step back first. Yes, Lord Mizukage. Shang Shinobu retreated, and there were only 3 generations of water shadow in the office. Suddenly, a strange human figure half black and half white appeared on the ground. 3 generations of water shadows, how are you thinking about it? If you agree to make a move, you will not only get the friendship of our great Uchiha Madara, but also get Mio Isafu. And, we'll help you too. The 3rd generation of Shuei-ing said lightly, just by you. Ju smiled and said, it's not just me, but thousands. Saying that, countless white absolutes came out from the walls, the ground, and drilled out. Chapter 051. Under the lead of Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost, Yefeng and the others soon came to a cave. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said very respectfully, Lord Senju Yefeng, we have searched so much. He heard Yifeng's conversation along the way, only to learn Yifeng's identity, and he was very surprised. The name for Night Maple has also changed completely. The Senju clan, that is the legend of the ninja world. As the last bloodline inheritance, Yefeng is absolutely worthy of respect. How many times have I said that I am not surnamed Senju? Nimas, no one has the surname Senju now, the 2nd generation still has the surname Senju, and by the 3rd generation, even Tsunade and Rope Tree are not surnamed Senju. With the disappearance of the Thousand Hands family, the family policy is to de-Thousand Hands and integrate into the Konoha collective. This is the way the Thousand Hands clan prevents Mushio from being in the forest, but unfortunately it still can't escape the Black Hand. Yes, Lord Yifeng, if you look at the thick fog of this cave, it is obviously the water escape, mist concealment technique, and it is very likely that Terumi is inside. Yefeng nodded and said, well, fine Xiaomei, and you can go. Thank you, Lord Yikid. Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and Loquat Juzo walked in the front, and Yefeng asked curiously, this mist concealment technique, don't you have a way to crack it? The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost said embarrassedly, Lord Yefeng, it is very simple to crack the mist concealment technique, as long as you use wind escape or fire concealment, but we ninjas in Mist Hidden Village generally do not practice wind and fire concealment. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost thought to himself, the wind and fire have already hung up. Mikoto Uchiha immediately stood up and said, I'll come, I'll be on fire. Everyone get out of the way. Kadokoka cue trouble. Uchiha Mikoto froze and was about to blow into the mouth of the cave, when suddenly the kunai in the cave shot out. Be careful. Yikid quickly pulled Mikoto to her side, and the roots of the tree that emerged behind her blocked Ku-Wu. Mikoto said embarrassedly, I'm sorry, my ninjutsu is too slow. It's okay, you guys go first. Yefeng glanced at Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost and said. Loquat Juzo and Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost glanced at each other and went in depressed. The 2 most elite Shangnin of Wuin Village went in, and naturally quickly found Terumi, as well as her guard Qing. The 2 were caught directly. The huge Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost directly grabbed Terumi, laughed and said, Lord Yefeng, caught her. Terumi was wearing a luxurious blue dress with a look of horror. What are you going to do? Yikid is definitely not an ordinary ninja. I am afraid that it is a large family in the Mist Hidden Village, but he was forced to flee because of the failure of the internal struggle. Just as everyone was relaxing, Terumi blew a breath into the face of the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost who grabbed him. Boiling, the art of clever mist. With a thick acidic high-heat mist, it comes directly to the face. Ugh! The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost screamed bitterly, you are looking for death. Just when the Watermelon Mountain Puffer Ghost was about to slash Xiaomei to death, Yefeng suddenly struck. I saw that Yifeng's hand was wrapped in thunder light, and 1,000 birds screamed, illuminating everyone's faces pale. Kakashi's eyes are about to pop out. This is his self-created Thunder 1,000 Birds. When did teacher Yikid learn it? Is the teacher a genius? How many times did you read it? And it looks so much more perfect than mine. For a moment, Yokaid's image in Kakashi's heart became tall. The Watermelon Mountain Puffer Fish Ghost saw Yifeng's hand and was immediately shocked. Lord Yikid. Before the words were finished, the watermelon mountain puffer ghost's eyes widened, and he felt that he was flying, and when he looked carefully, his headless body and neck were spraying blood. Ugh! It's so bloody. Mikoto Uchiha, Rin, Kai's third class, and the 3 students who had just woken up, screamed one after another. They had never seen anything so bloody. Even on this mission, no one was killed. The 3 students who had just woken up fainted again. Kai, they couldn't help but vomit too. Kakashi and Obito swallowed, a little sick, but they were getting used to it. The nearest Xiaomei was directly frightened and stupid, and was directly taken away by Feng. Uchiha Mikoto was surprised to see Kakashi and Obito so calm. Looking closely, Obito actually opened the Sharingan. Just now, along the way, she only paid attention to Feng and ignored Obito, only to find out that Obito was a member of the Uchiha clan. A genius who opened the eye of the writing wheel. How could she not be impressed? Uchiha Mikoto was about to ask Obito when she heard Yokai say, Kakashi, Obito, Rin, the rest of the person, leave it to you. What? Tell such a young student to kill Shinobu. Uchiha Mikoto turned her head and saw that the Loquat Juzo was once again wrapped in rice dumplings. Loquat Juzo shouted in horror, Yikid. You are a member of the Thousand Hands clan, why are you so untrustworthy? The green next to him was dumbfounded, what's going on? Does black eat black? Yokai touched Terumi's head, shrugged his shoulders and said, I said I wouldn't kill you, that is, I won't kill you, Kakashi, Obito, Rin, Kami. Yes, teacher. Rin snorted and stood up with a pale face. The bloody scene just now was a little disgusting, but she couldn't lose to Kakashi and Obito. Ha! Lin Jiao screamed and threw out countless kunai and shurikens. Bang bang bang. Loquat Juzo screamed miserably, and his face was all filled with kunai and shuriken. Yes, Lena. Obito said in surprise, but was kicked in the ass by Feng. You're on, so much nonsense. At this time, Kakashi began to seal the seal, and then his left hand held his right hand, and the palm of his right hand burst out with brilliant thunder light. Uchiha Mikoto looked at Kakashi's thunder for 1,000 years, slightly surprised. Is this the trick that Yokai passed to Kakashi? What a scary chakra. Loquat Juzo's face was full of shuriken and kunai, his eyes widened, he wanted to struggle, but he couldn't struggle, and was desperately helped by the root vines. Don't come here, be careful I kill you. Before the words fell, Kakashi rushed forward with the afterimage. Swish. Blood splatter. Kakashi's figure turned into a Loquat Juzo. Loquat Juzo's face was full of horror, and his waist was broken. Well, the main thing is that Kakashi is still small, the height is not enough, it should have been inserted, but it turned out to be a stomach insertion. Ugh! Then, Obito roared, holding Kuwu in both hands, jumped up high, and stabbed at the heart of Loquat Juzo. Loquat Shirzong's face was unwilling, and there was no breath. Uchiha Mikoto and Haruno Zhao were stunned. The 7th class of the Night Maple Belt did not look like a newcomer class at all, it was too calm. Even their Naka shinobi are not so calm, right? Feng smiled and said while touching Terumi's head, well done. Terumi frowned and looked at Ikid. Feng said, don't spray me, be careful if I bind you. Xiaomei's little loli suddenly shivered, and said in a milky voice, what are you? Of course it's the one who saved you, we are from Konoha Village. Ao stood up and said, you are Konoha ninjas. Why arrest us? Go back and ask Hokage. Feng smiled and took them directly away. Along the way, Uchiha Mikoto was very surprised that Kakashi turned out to be the son of White Fang, no wonder he was so strong. And a genius ninja like Obito was actually buried, and the family didn't know anything. Bring the soil, after you go back, I will take you to meet the head of the family. Obito nodded and said, well, Sister Mikoto. Obito is now very excited, he has been appreciated, and he has to meet the owner. He has finally become a powerful character, no longer the unknown self he used to be. Obito looked at Feng, and was very grateful to Feng. Although teacher Feng is very barbaric, such barbarism is what he opens the chakra eye on. Along the way, everyone talked and laughed and returned to the kilometer bridge. At this time, the bridge has no fog, and you can see the opposite side at a glance. After crossing this bridge, it is the land of fire. We're finally back. Let's go. Everyone showed a look of joy and breathed a sigh of relief. Along the way, I encountered many difficulties and accidents, and finally returned safely. Just as everyone reached the middle of the bridge, Yefeng stopped, and everyone looked at him strangely. Mikoto Uchiha asked with concern, "What's wrong?" Haruno Zhao also looked around warily. "Lord Yefeng, is there an enemy?" In Yifeng's mind, the system suddenly appeared again. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1, greedy for life and fear of death, abandon everyone, run away alone, reward, secret art, earth grudge. Option 2, run away with important people, Terumi, abandon other unimportant people, reward, blood succession limit, Sharingan. Option 3, learn the spirit of the second generation Hokage, leave the break, save Konoha's future, reward, S-class copy, second generation will of fire defense battle. 3 generations of water shadows. Where are the people? Yefeng looked around, and suddenly, the bridge shook violently. A terrifying sound suddenly erupted on the sea under the bridge, and countless water columns rose up into the sky. Shui done. Ugh. Except for Yifeng, everyone else leaned down, and some even lay down directly. Everyone looked terrified. The 3 children in the other classes who woke up after fainting for the second time were all bare children who were less than 10 years old, and they were directly scared and crying. Obito wanted to cry. Rin and Terumi gripped Yokai's pants tightly. Even Mikoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno shivered. Yifeng looked up and saw that at the top of the bridge, there was a person standing. He has long hair, a water shadow cloak, and closed eyes. This is the 3 generations of water shadows. Chapter 052 The secret technique, Earth Grievance, and the Sharingan are very attractive, but Yefeng can't do such a rat thing as running away. Seeing that the bridge was about to be broken by the sea, Yefeng immediately began to form handprints. Mu Dun, Tree Binding Eternal Burial. Originally, Muduinshu Binding Eternal Burial used vine-like saplings to entangle opponents, and then grew into large trees, completely crushing opponents under the tree. But now the night maple is used on the bridge, and the big trees that grow up wrap around the entire bridge, making the bridge become stable. As Mimi, Rin, and Uchiha Mikoto saw that large trees grew out of the wood of the bridge, and their eyes were sparkling. Yefeng is so handsome. The teacher is so handsome. This little brother is so handsome. The others also suddenly calmed down in their hearts and felt very safe. The 3 generations of water shadows who were high above looked at Yifeng, and they were also slightly surprised. Unexpectedly, in an environment without soil, such a terrifying Mudun ninjutsu can be used. Is it really the first generation reincarnated? When the 3 generations of water shadow were in the first 5 shadows talks, they were the guards of a generation of water shadows, and standing behind a generation of water shadows were also old people from the era of the first 5 shadows. He looked at the current Yifeng, and the original figure that appeared in his mind gradually overlapped with Yifeng. Thinking of this, the 3rd generation of Shuang felt a little uneasy in his heart, but he thought of Ju, and the old men, and his heart was a little calmer. As long as this person remains, when the time comes, Konoha Village will inevitably be in civil strife. Yifeng also saw the absolute that suddenly appeared next to the 3 generations of water shadows, or the absolute combination of black and white. Sure enough, it was Uchiha's conspiracy. "You guys go, I'll break the back," Yefeng said lightly. Uchiha Mikoto hurriedly said, "Yekade-kun, you take Shinobu with you." Haruno Zhao also said, "Lord Yefeng, you are the most important person, after we come to the break, you go." As he spoke, the huge water column that surged up turned into one water dragon after another, rushing towards Yifeng's side. Water Dragon Bullet. This is a plural version of the Water Dragon Bullet. Under the use of 3 generations of water shadow, the momentum is huge and very terrifying. Haruno Zhao, who just said that he was going to break off, was directly frightened and stupid. Bang. With a loud noise, Yifeng's hands were sealed, and in front of everyone, a wooden ingot wall appeared, blocking the attack of the water dragon, and the entire bridge shook together. The sea water splashed everyone's clothes. "After you break off, you will sacrifice in vain, there is no need at all, you go quickly, I'll be fine. I'm afraid I'll hurt you if I do my best. Let's go." Saying that, Yifeng used the shadow doppelganger technique and ran away with everyone with the doppelganger. "Yifeng, you must come back safely." Uchiha Mikoto gritted her teeth and ran away with Yokai's doppelganger. The third generation of Mizukage smiled and said, "Oh, none of you want to run." Yifeng's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of the three generations of water shadows. "Your opponent is me." As soon as the words fell, the three generations of water shadows had already flown out upside down. On the other side of the bridge, countless white absolutes suddenly appeared, and everyone showed a terrified look. Not only on this side of the mainland, but also on the other side of the bridge, dense white absolutes appeared, thousands of them. Surrounded everyone. Everyone was scared silly. Yifeng's heart also had a sense of foreboding. How many Baiju were here? Let's go. The Night Maple doppelganger is directly sealed. Mu-dun, wood dragon art. Mu-dun tree binding eternal burial. Countless wooden dragons instantly trapped Baiju, who blocked the bridge. At the same time, the tree was tied to eternal burial, pressing those white absolutes under the tree, opening up a way for everyone to escape. "You guys go. Leave it to me," Yifeng said quietly. "Teacher. You come with us." Lin watched the endless white come out and was about to cry. The eyes with soil also went into the sand. Even Kakashi said, "Sensei, let's go together, we can escape." Terumi's little loli also pulled Yifeng's clothes and looked at Yifeng. When Mikoto Uchiha was about to speak, she was interrupted by Yokai. "Mikoto, Haruno Zhao, they'll be handed over to you." After Yifeng's doppelganger finished speaking, his hands were frantically sealed. Mu-dun, Flower Tree Realm has arrived. With Yifeng's order, the ground standing the bridge instantly cracked. With a loud bang, the entire ground shook and collapsed instantly. The big trees that rose under the ground directly overturned the bridge. Rumble. Half of the steel bridge was instantly plunged into the sea. It was just a few seconds, the cliff split, the bridge broke, and the terrain was changed in one fell swoop. Baiju on the bridge fell into the sea one after another, and Baiju at the other end of the bridge could only watch the cliff side on the opposite side, becoming a forest world of trees and huge flowers. Konoha, Whirlpool Courtyard. 4-elephant seal. Jioshin cast a 4-elephant seal on a pink pig, and a circle of marks appeared on the belly of the pink pig, emitting light. It worked. Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito nodded and said, "Well, it's good. Next, you have to unseal the 4 elephants of the big dolphin and try it again." This big pink pig is a domesticated psychic beast of the Vortex clan, specially used by newcomers of the Vortex clan to practice sealing. The skin is thick and not easily injured. This large dolphin, and a son called Guinea Dolphin, has been following Tsunade and Shizun. Big porpoise, let's come again. Jioshin was very excited. She finally learned the 4-elephant seal, and soon, she would be able to learn all of the Vortex clan sealing technique. At least in terms of sealing technique, it was stronger than Yifeng. Moreover, Grandma Mito said that if you learn the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you can get married. Thinking of this, Jioshin's smiling face appeared in her heart. When you come back from this mission, you can prepare for marriage. Yifeng, be safe, come back quickly. Chapter 053. In Hokage's office, Sarutobi was working on these documents. Lord Hokage, something has happened over there in Mist-Hidden Village. A dark shinobi appeared in front of Sarutobi Hibi. Big deal. Orochimaru, who was sitting next to him, looked at this Kaminobu curiously. Ape Fei frowned slightly and said, "What's wrong?" Jiraiya-sama was not able to intercept the Ninja Knife 7 in Mist-Hidden Village, and the Ninja Knife 7 went to the west. West. Ape Fei groaned, looked at the map, and his eyes suddenly widened. Damn, didn't you stop the Ninja Dao 7? Ape Fei Chopper was suddenly furious, and the momentum that burst out made the dark part tremble. Orochimaru listened curiously next to him. Yes, Naruto-sama, Jiraiya-sama has been struck by the sound. It's over, the 7 people of the Ninja Knife, the strongest elite upper ninja directly under the water shadow of the Misty Hidden Village, the 7-person combination, can destroy an effect overnight. The direction they are heading to is the mountain forest where Terumi may be hidden, and the destination of Night Maple is also there. If it happens, if something happens to Yifeng, something big will happen in Konoha Village. But now I'm afraid it's too late. The big snake pill next to him said, Zillai also knows that he has been deceived, so there is no remedy. Lord Zelaya said that he has sent the fastest wave feng shui to the gate to endure. The big snake pill next to him squinted his eyes and said, "It's too easy to be deceived." The Shadow Department Shinobu hurriedly said, "It's the intelligence department that is wrong." Who handled the intelligence? It's the intelligence handled by Ryosuke Mito and Shinto Shudo. Sarutobi Hinata's eyes widened, and he was immediately furious. Ryosuke Mito and Shun Madu. What do they want to do? Menyon, Koharu, are you still guarding the will of fire like this? Knowing how important it is to Konoha's significance to the inheritance of the first generation, do you still want to do this? Ape Fei Richo took a deep breath, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Even if Yefeng and Bofeng Shuiman can be two people to fight the 7 people of the Ninja Dao, I am afraid that everyone else will suffer heavy casualties. For the sake of their own personal vendetta, the Mito clan and the Dormitory clan actually attacked Yokai without any warning, which was completely ignoring his Hokage. Pass it on to me. Knock knock. Before Sarutobi could finish speaking, Mito Menyon and Shun Koharu came with 2 young juniors. It was their children Mito Ryosuke and Shun Mado. Naruto-sama. Naruto-sama. Sarutobi Richo's eyes were extremely cold, and he looked at the big snake pill and said, "You guard at the door, Menyon, Koharu, you sit, and the others go out." "Yes, teacher." Orochimaru walked out with the others with a smile on his face. In the Hokage office, at this time, there were only 3 people, Sarutobi Hinata, Mito Manita, and Koharu. The atmosphere is full of a kind of oppression, and the mountain rain is about to come. Ape Fei Ri looked at his 2 old classmates quietly, and did not speak. The atmosphere is dignified. Mito Menyon couldn't help but say, "Sarutobi, these are all mistakes, not intentional by us." "Yes. Ape Fei, don't be angry. The origin of the night maple is full of mysteries, whether it is a hidden bomb or not, no one knows. Everything we do, not for us, but for Konoha. It's also a knock on him, don't make him feel like he can do whatever he wants in Konoha. Ape Flying Sun Chopper is clear." This time, Tuanzang returned and robbed the 2 tails and the 6 artifacts of Union Village, mainly the credit of the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Juanchi. In addition, there is an alliance agreement with Hanzo, a demigod of Union Village. There are also the resources that the 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Shuinyu have mastered over the years, the families behind them, and so on. Now they just want to show Sarutobi whether it is Yokai that is important, or whether their 3 major families of Shimura, Mito, and Shuinyu are important. Their 2 major families are not something they can mess with casually. Moreover, they didn't do things to the end, they just messed up Yifeng's first mission and gave Yifeng's warning. Mito Menyon and sleeping Koharu had completely made their posture clear, and even faintly told him that if he wanted to blame them, not only them, but also other families would kill him and leave him. Ape Flying Sun was silent. The corners of Mito's and Koharu's mouths raised wistfully. Ape Flying, Yefeng will be fine, and it is more important for us to welcome the return of Tuanzang. This time the trouble of Tuanzang's return, you still need Ape Fei to make a move. Sarutobi looked coldly at Mito Menyon and Shui Xiaochun, and at this moment, the big snake pill outside the door suddenly said, "Teacher, the wave wind water gate is back. Let him in." The door opened, and when Wave Feng Mizamon saw Mito Manita and Koharu, he was stunned for a moment, and then said, "Naruto-sama. It's safe to come back, Yefeng Shangnan." Bofeng Shuiman half knelt down and said, "I came back first, and Yefeng Shangnan is still in the land of water. What's going on?" "Report Naruto-sama, because of the casualties, I sent the wounded back first, and Yokai Kamishinobi is still on duty." Mito Menyon and Koharu next to him suddenly smiled. "I heard that Yefeng did his best for the 7th class he coached, and this time there were heavy casualties." Ape Fei Ri Chop frowned and said, "There are casualties, and you still have to carry out a mission." Watergate said respectfully, "Yes, Yefeng Shang Shinobu has already solved the Ninja Sword 7, and one of us on Konoha's side has been injured." "What?" As soon as Watergate's words came out, the whole body was silent. Everyone's expressions were stunned. The 7 people of the ninja knife are gone, and we Konoha only injured 1 shinobi. It sounds like it was killed by Night Maple Pine. Chapter 054 Watergate, let's talk about what's going on. Yes, Naruto-sama. So, Watergate told what had happened, and by the time he arrived, the battle was over. Everyone looked incredulous. The 7 people of the ninja sword were hung up by Yefeng alone. And the lower ninja Mat Dai opened the 8 doors, and also beat a ninja knife 7. Ape Flying Sun said in a deep voice, "Very good, Mat Dai's talent is something we ignored before. When I come back, you take me to see him." Now Ape Flying Sun Chopper has more important things to do, that is, to stop Lei Ying and let Tuan Zong return safely. After that, Ape Flying Sun Chopper walked over, followed by the big snake pill. After a while, another dark shinobu hurriedly arrived. "What about Naruto-sama?" Turning to sleep, Shinto stood up and said, "Naruto-sama has something to do." "What's wrong?" "Lord Zhuan, something big has happened over there in Wuin Village." "What's going on?" Lord Jiraiya lost contact, and the 3 generations of water shadow suddenly attacked everyone in Yefeng. When Mito Menyon and Koharu heard this, they were stunned for a moment, and then the corners of their mouths turned up slightly. They also didn't expect that Yifeng was so unlucky. It turned out that the 3rd generation of water shadow personally made a move, and this time Yifeng was dead. Turning to sleep in a deep voice, "When did this happen?" "It's half an hour from now." Mito Menyon immediately said, "That's a pity, Naruto-sama is not there, the other upper shinobi are also in the mission, now our Konoha's endurance is insufficient, we can only hope that Yokai can escape, so let's go back and rescue Yokai." When Shadow Shinobu heard Mito Menyon's words, his eyes widened. "Don't hurry up yet." "Yes. Yes, my lord." The Shadow Upper Shinobu is about to curse, such a terrifying battlefield, he took ahead to save Ah. These 2 former advisor elders are really too poisonous. Mito Menyon and Koharu smiled slightly. Now like this, Yefeng should be helpless. The 3 generations of water shadow personally took action, and there were thousands of Baiju, and they must leave Yifeng. This is very good. Without Yokai, a rebellious fellow, when Danzo returns, then Konoha will be back on its proper track. On the border between the land of water and the land of fire, half of the bridge collapses into the sea, and the sea is turbulent. Countless white absolute press towards the night maple in the center of the tree realm. The outermost trees, creaking and then clattering, collapsed. Immediately afterwards, the circle of roots and vines inside was also cut off by the dense white around it. On the other side, after the 3rd generation of Shueying also ate a few punches from Yifeng's doppelganger, his face was swollen, and he was no longer as handsome as he was at the beginning. But he finally opened the distance between him and Yifeng's doppelganger, and constantly used water ninjutsu, and the endless stream of sea water continued to turn into multiple water dragons, bombarding towards Yifeng's doppelganger. Bang! Yifeng's doppelganger was directly bombarded into slag. But at the same time, Night Maple once again split into 3. The reason why it is not separated more is because it is divided into 3, and all 3 have the current strength of 1/3. If you divide too much, you will not believe. Yifeng's hands gently closed in front of him, forming a handprint, very mysterious. The huge chakra suddenly surged in the body, and the light in his eyes flickered. Mu done, wooden man art. Rumble. The ground where Yifeng was standing instantly exploded, and a huge wooden Buddha statue had emerged from the ground. And Yefeng himself stood on top of the wooden Buddha's head. Immediately afterwards, the Buddha statue continued to emerge, standing up to the heavens and the earth, and in the violent tremor of the earth, burrowing out of the earth. I saw a circle of palms behind the Buddha statue densely packed and layered. Not far away, a chakra eye under the mask suddenly turned. This is the doppelganger of Uchiha. He was secretly watching. This time, not only black and white, but also the doppelganger of Uchiha. The body is connected to the outer path golem, and it can barely send a doppelganger out. He came here today to find out the situation of Yifeng. This is Immortal Muduan True Thousands of Hands top. Looking at the huge Buddha statue towering into the clouds, his hands were folded in the middle, countless giant arms were stretched out behind his back, counting white, and the doppelganger of Madara was suddenly stunned. He took 2 steps back and muttered, "Impossible, absolutely impossible, he doesn't have an immortal body, how can he make an immortal magic would escape top transformation? No, this is not a top makeover, this is the art of a wooden man." Uchiha was shadowed by the immortal wood done between the 1,000 hands pillar. Now looking at the wooden men who suddenly appeared, they were all startled. In fact, what Yefeng used was indeed the wooden art that Uchiha finally judged. Instead of immortal FAMU dungeon thousands of hands top. The difference between the two is that immortal FAMU Dunin needs to transform into an immortal body. Yi Feng's current fusion degree is not enough to transform into an immortal human body, and it must have a 100% fusion degree to transform into an immortal human body. Even so, it startled Uchiha. Could it be that the pillar is like me in suspended animation, but it is actually not dead? Madara's doppelganger squinted and looked at Yi Feng. His eyes were about to bleed, but no matter how he looked, Yi Feng's could not be between the 1,000-hand pillars. It's not a 1,000 hands pillar, kill him while he is still young. Uchiha was about to strike, when suddenly, the earth suddenly shook again. Another huge 1,000-handed wooden man came out of the land. And standing on top of the wooden man's head was a doppelganger of Yi Feng. But the shaking hasn't stopped yet. The shaking is getting more and more violent. The third huge wooden man with 1,000 hands came out again. 3 towering 1,000-handed wooden figures suddenly appeared, shocking everyone present. Chapter 055 How is it possible? His chakra is so strong. Uchiha was really scared. Although it is not Senfa Muduin, true 1,000 hands, and top avatar, but the appearance of 3 very similar 1,000 hands wooden people makes Uchiha a little hesitant to show up. If he didn't show up and kill Yi Feng, he would probably be a little dangerous. Maybe Yi Feng can find his own traces through some clues. Just as Uchiha hesitated, the 3 Senjuji had already struck. The layers of wooden figures stretched out their huge palms and held one after another Baiju. Baiju was absorbed by the 1,000 hands wooden man, and the intercolumn cells in his body were also sucked away instantly, and he dried up instantly. One after another, it instantly turned into a nutrient solution and dripped on the ground. And the water dragon of the 3 generations of water shadows hit the 1,000-hand wooden men in a row. It was like tickling. This situation dispelled the idea of Uchiha's black hand. Night Maple is too strong, and the risk of making a shot is too high, and it is not worth Uchiha to do this. Back then, the young spots were not the opponents of immortal Muduin true thousands of hands and top, and now the age spots, facing the young Yi Feng, also have no confidence. Unexpectedly, after so many years of silence, there is such a similar person again. It seems that my plan is about to change again. Thinking of this, Madara's figure gradually disappeared. If you don't have a chance, you will slip away, and Madara is not a pedantic person, otherwise the battle of the End Valley that year would not have suspended his death. As the spot slipped away, the black and white absolute disappeared instantly, and the white absolute that was still drilling out, when he saw that it was not right, quickly retracted. Want to retract? Think beautiful. Yi Feng was divided into 3, controlling 3,000 hands wooden people, and could absorb thousands of white absolutes in a second, and those white abs that were half drilled were also pulled out like being pulled out of turnips. The chakra that was originally consumed was instantly filled, and the chakra that overflowed instantly rushed to the place of the Een seal on the forehead, making the color of the Een seal even deeper. At the same time, Yi Feng absorbed countless interpillar cells in Baiju's body through the wooden man art, causing the fusion degree of the character card between the 1,000-hand pillars to soar at a speed visible to the naked eye. 75%. 85%. 95%. 99%. It was these white absolutes that instantly provided Night Maple with a fusion degree of more than 20%. If you are 1% short, you will be able to reach the full level. When the fusion degree exceeded 90%, Yi Feng comprehended a new skill, Immortal Mode. At the same time, he also comprehended Immortal Art Myojin Gate. Finally, there is also the strongest Muduin Ninjutsu, Immortal Law Muduin True Thousands of Hands, which should be able to be learned when the full level is 100%. Yi Feng is a little excited. There is still a 1% fusion degree, and it will be in 2 or 3 hours. Water Escape, Water Break. The 3rd generation of Water Shadow saw Yi Feng in a daze, and directly used one of the highest single-killing water-done ninjutsu, violently spraying a straight line of ultra-high-pressure water column from his mouth, turning into a sharp water blade, cutting Yi Feng in 2. Swish. This knife directly cut Yi Feng and the 1,000-hand wooden men from head to toe, one knife in 2. Bang. The doppelganger exploded directly, and the 1,000-hand wooden men under his feet also collapsed. Yi Feng looked at the 3 generations of water shadows. Black and white absolute had already left, those cannon fodder and white absolutely all fled, the last enemy, this 3 generations of water shadows left. The 3 generations of Water Shadow and Yefeng looked at each other, and suddenly felt a little wrong. Take a closer look, why are they all gone, and they are left alone? Uchiha Madara. You lied to me. The 3 generations of Water Shadows roared, turned around and fled. Now in such a situation, he feels very dangerous. May die. Water body. Before the words were finished, the eyes of the 3 generations of Shuang widened, and the whole person smashed to the ground. Rumble. A deep pit was smashed, 100 meters in size. 3 generations of Water Shadow people, lying in the middle in a large figure, looked at the sky in horror. In the air, Yifeng's eyes showed red stripes, and at the same time there was a red circle on his forehead, and his pupils turned golden. This is immortal mode. The 3 generations of Water Shadows immediately froze, and at this time, Yifeng's figure suddenly appeared in front of the 3 generations of Water Shadows and stepped out. Bang. The eyes of the 3rd generation of Shuang widened, and when he heard a click in his body, his spine was directly stepped on by Yifeng. The seal of the water body technique was successful in 0.1 seconds, but it was directly interrupted. Yefeng stepped on the 3 generations of Water Shadows and said, "Don't move." The 3rd generation of Water Shadows almost passed out, blood was constantly sprayed in his mouth, and his lower body was completely unconscious. He didn't expect that Yifeng's strike would be a thunderous blow that destroyed him. "Let me go, I'm willing to do anything." Yifeng didn't listen to what the 3 generations of Water Shadow said, and was still reminiscing about the battle just now. Less than 3 seconds of battle. Interrupted Mizukage's ninjutsu twice in a row, and directly blasted Mizukage. This is the immortal pattern between the 1,000-hand pillars. There is no casting, directly with a fist, it is already strong to burst. Ding, based on the current situation of the host, give 3 options. Option 1, put 3 generations of Water Shadow, reward, surrender of 3 generations of Water Shadow. The system has not finished broadcasting, and it was immediately changed again. Ding, the host killed 3 generations of Water Shadow, completed option 3, and got a reward, S-Class character card, the original Water Shadow White Lotus. Yefeng was a little confused, how did he complete option 3? Looking down, the 3 generations of Water Shadows don't know when they run out of gas. I'll go. 3 generations of Water Shadows hung like this. Yifeng was unexpected. Chapter 056 This Water Shadow is fake, right? So weak. But the system can't be wrong, is it because my immortal mode is too strong? At this moment, a light rain suddenly fell in the sky, and the water mist condensed, seemingly mourning for the death of the 3 generations of Water Shadows. Yifeng shook his head, looked at the corpse of the 3 generations of Water Shadow, and still carried the corpse. Bring back the corpses of the 3 generations of Water Shadow, this should be a great military merit, right? Moreover, the 3 generations of Water Shadow were killed by themselves in this way, and the mist-hidden village will fall into shadowless turmoil in the short term, and the internal strife will not stop, but it will also help Konoha Village reduce a lot of trouble. Yifeng thought about it, clasped his hands together, and began to seal the seal. On the bridge inserted into the sea, countless thick roots and vines suddenly grew, lifting the bridge again and connecting it with the mainland side. Although the terrain changed a little, Yokai connected the bridge with ninjutsu. It's not difficult, it's more wasted chakra. It just so happens that now Night Maple doesn't have much, that is, chakrado. In addition to the chakra in the original body, there is also the chakra of the Een seal. Just now absorbed 2,000 or 3,000 white chakras, and now there are more than half left. What made Yokai a little worried was the safety of Uchiha Mikoto, the 7th class, and Terumi. When summoning the 3 Senjuji just now, suddenly the basket was empty, and it was not replenished for a while, so to protect the 7th class, Mikoto's doppelganger should have disappeared automatically. Suddenly, a golden flash of light flew from a distance. It's a wave feng shui gate. He rushed towards Yifeng's side at full speed, and when he hurried, the tremors of the earth also continued to come from the front. The huge rumbling sound can be clearly heard at the wave feng shui gate. And the huge 1,000-handed wooden man in the distance made Bofeng Sherman stunned. This is Night Maple's psychic beast. Or the enemy. Bofeng Sherman was born after the first generation died. Naturally he had never seen the first generation of Muduan, and he was already very surprised when he saw the art of the wooden men for the first time. Then there was a burst of explosive bombardment sounds, and the fierce wind immediately rushed in. It's terrifying. However, the closer he got to the battlefield, the more solemn the expression on Feng Shimon's face became. What was originally a plain terrain has directly become a basin. Everywhere were huge roots and vines cut off from the waist, and many of them were uprooted and fell to the ground. But there was no body at all. And the downpour, very weird. He couldn't help but secretly swallow a mouthful of spit. The surrounding water mist is desolate. In the mist, a figure suddenly walked out. Feng Shimen suddenly stood up in sweat, and took out the special flying thunder god Ku Wu. Watergate. In the mist, Yifeng's figure gradually became clear. Yifeng, are you all right? Feng Shimen was stunned for a moment, and quickly walked up. I heard Shinobu Harukami say that you are in danger. Before he finished speaking, the Wei Feng Shui gate was stuck, and he looked at the corpse that Yifeng was carrying on his shoulder in amazement. Water shadow cloak, water shadow robe. Yifeng, this is. Watergate stammered. Yifeng dropped the body and just revealed the front. Wuyin Village protected his forehead, long hair, his face was completely deformed, and his mouth was full of blood. Take a closer look, the waist is bent and the spine is broken. 3 generations of water shadows. Watergate, you came just in time, help me carry it. Feng Shimen was stunned. Is this person really a 3rd-generation water shadow? Died at the hands of Yifeng? You killed 3 generations of water shadow. Or else. Yifeng patted Watergate's shoulder and said, let's go back. On the way back, Watergate was still full of shock, and Yifeng actually killed 3 generations of water shadow. When he was a middle ninja, Yikid was still a shinobi. When he reached Shangnan, Yifeng was already particularly forbearant. When he carried out his first S-class mission, Yifeng killed the 3 generations of water shadow. Such a reverse speed made Watergate feel a little unbalanced. Yifeng also had questions about this. The 3rd generation of water shadows looks weak, and I trampled to death with 1 foot. Watergate's eyelids jumped, and then, Watergate suddenly thought of what he had told himself. He muttered and said, according to our spy records, after 3 generations of water shadow took office, the frequency of occurrence in Wuyin Village has become less and less frequent in this year. We guess that the 3 generations of water shadow either have something ulterior or are seriously ill. Something ulterior? Seriously ill? Yifeng immediately remembered Black and White, as well as the person behind him, and nodded and said, it may be both. Watergate nodded and said, yes, the sudden implementation of the high-pressure policy in the blood mist, we guess is to exclude dissidents. But we also feel too unreasonable to be in such a hurry to exclude dissidents. No matter what, Yifeng, you have done a great job this time. This time will definitely disrupt the plans of Wuyin Village, and Wuyin Village will be in turmoil because of this. Your name Yifeng will soon be able to shake the entire ninja world. Chapter 057. Just as Yokai was returning, Mikoto Uchiha and Akira Haruno had already led everyone back to Konoha Village. However, it was the Danzo mission that returned to Konoha a little earlier than them. Led by Mito Manita and Koharu, Danzo walked to the main gate of Konoha Village. Looking at the night sky of Konoha Village, Danzo took a deep breath. I'm back. Danzo glanced at the young Mito Ryosuke and Shun Shinto and said, go and ask Uzumaki-sama Mito to come over, the seal of the 2 tails is unstable, and there is danger at any time. Ape Flying Biwa Lake hurriedly said, if that's the case, you can't enter the village, let's go to the training ground. Danzo glanced at Lake Biwa, nodded and said, yes, it's still Lord Biwako who is thoughtful, and please call Lord Uzumaki Mito over as soon as possible. Saying that, the regiment will not go away. And behind him, a blonde girl with iron locks tied to her hands, shivering. The brace she wears shows that she is a ninja of Wuyin Village. At this moment, Mikoto Uchiha and Zhao Haruno ran back with everyone. Uchiha Mikoto looked at the lights in the doorway from a distance, quickened her pace, and shouted. Emergency, I want to see Naruto-sama. When Tuanzang heard this, he stopped and turned around. Sarutobi Biwako hurriedly greeted him and said, this is Mikoto. What happened to you? Lord Biwako, Yifeng he was attacked by 3 generations of water shadows, and there are many, many white weirdos, hurry up and send someone to rescue him. When Ape Flying Biwa heard this, his face immediately changed and said, "Which Shangnan is still in the village now?" Tuanzang came over and said, "What's wrong?" Uchiha Mikoto saw Danzo and immediately turned pale, but Haruno Zhao in the back still explained the situation in detail. Mito Menyon next to him said, "Just now, Bofeng Shui Men Shinobu has already gone." Mikoto's eyes lit up and said, "Shinobi on the water gate. Why didn't I see it?" Mito Menyon smiled and said, "Then I don't know." "That Lord Buwako, can you send more manpower? I don't know why there are a large number of white weirdos on the side of Wuin Village." Xiaochun said coldly, "No, we can't arrange more manpower here, because we still have more important tasks on our side." Obito couldn't help but say, "What important task is more important than teacher Yefeng?" Tuanzang saw Obito, such a small Uchiha clan, actually opened the Sharingan. The second generation is right, the Uchiha clan is an evil race. Now he is still colluding with Feng. Little Ghost, our Konoha Village is the most important. Anyone, at any time, can sacrifice for Konoha Village. There is no one more important than Konoha. Little Ghost, your mind is dangerous. Is this how the Uchiha clan taught you? Or maybe Yefeng taught you that? Obito was stunned by Tuanzo and took 2 steps back. Uchiha Mikoto blocked in front of Obito, looked at Danzo and said, "Danzo-sama, children don't have so many ideas, is it against the interests of Konoha Village to save Yakuid Kamito?" Tuanzang squinted his eyes, and the Zhuan sleeping Shinto next to him stood up and said, "Are you teaching our administrative department to do things? Naruto-sama has something to leave, and the most urgent matter in the village now is more important than rescuing Yokai Shinobu. Besides, you have already sent Wave Feng Shui Gate Shangren, what else do you want to do? Do you want to disobey the orders of the Ministry of Administration?" As soon as the words of the turning sleep Shinto came out, Uchiha Mikoto turned pale with fright, lowered her head and said, "Mikoto doesn't dare, but..." Ryosuke Mito next to him interrupted Uchiha Mikoto, "No, but, as a Konoha ninja, always guard the will of fire. We must protect Konoha, put Konoha's interests first, and do not carry personal feelings. Mikoto Naka Shinobu, your mind is dangerous now." Shun Shinto snorted and said to Kami-sama next to him, "Immediately pass on Uzumaki Mito-sama, we need Uzumaki Mito-sama's help to stabilize the seal of Neo. Whoever obstructs and lets Niao come out and destroy Konoha Village is a sinner of Konoha Village." Whirlpool Courtyard. Gyoshina looked at Uzumaki Mito with a happy face and said, "Grandma Mito, I succeeded." Uzumaki Mito looked at Gyoshina lovingly, nodded and said, "Yes, the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, you have already comprehended 7, 7, 8, 8. That's great." Uzumaki Mito touched Gyoshina's head, "Did you miss someone?" Gyoshina's face blushed slightly and said, "Whatever." She really wanted to be Night Maple up. "It's been 3 days, and I don't know when I'll be back." "You don't have to worry, Yifeng's strength is so strong, it will definitely be fine." Gyoshina nodded, but he was still a little worried in his heart, because according to normal terms, he should be coming back today, right? This is the first time Yefeng has gone out on a mission, and as soon as he goes out, it is a B-level mission. How can he not let Gyoshina not worry? A hint of uneasiness flashed in Uzumaki Mito's eyes, but it quickly covered up. Yefeng is definitely on his way back now, don't worry, maybe he will come back later in the evening. At this moment, there was a knocking sound outside. "There is an order from the Ministry of Administration, Uzumaki Mito-sama, please come with us." Uzumaki Mito frowned and said, "Ministry of Administration?" "Yes, there is an emergency here, and I need the help of Lord Mito Uzumaki." "Is there anything you need my help with?" "There is a little situation in the two-tailed human pillar force captured by the Danzo-sama's side, and it needs the help of Uzumaki-sama Mito, which is very urgent." Uzumaki Mito looked at Gyoshina and said, "Gyoshina, come with me to take a look." "Yes, Grandma Mito." Chapter 058 Uzumaki Mito and Kushina came to the training ground and were led in by Kami Shinobu of the Administration Department. "Danzo-sama, Mito-sama, Dormitory-sama, Uzumaki-sama Mito is here." In the center of the training ground, it was Danzo, Mito Menyon, and Koharu. Next to it was a girl. It was the two-tailed man with his hands tied to iron locks, and the 2 teak doors. As if he had just cried, his small mouth was pursed tightly. Now such a formation is trembling with fear. Master Uzumaki Mito, let's see if this two-tailed human pillar force is unstable. Do you want to change the personal pillar force? Uzumaki Mito pulled Gyoshina closer, looked at the scared look of the two teak doors, frowned and said, "What are you doing? If you don't want any accidents, then let them go first." Gyoshina couldn't help but say, "They are still so young, how can you treat them like this?" Koharu immediately scolded angrily, "Presumptuous. Gyoshina, is it your turn to speak here? Let her go. In case she has a sudden seizure, who will be responsible?" Uzumaki Mito glanced at Koharu and said, "You know what, Gyoshina is right, you guys doing this will only have the opposite effect, let them go." Koharu's face changed slightly, and he snorted and said, "Master Mito Uzumaki, if something goes wrong, we can't afford it." Uzumaki Mito looked at Koharu and said, "Didn't you bring back this two-tailed human pillar force? Something went wrong, not your problem." Turning to Sleep Xiaochun, "Thanks to you being an elder and advisor for so many years, such words can be said." When Koharu heard this, he gritted his teeth and stopped talking. Mito Menyon smiled and said, "Uzumaki Mito-sama, we don't mean that, we just think it's too risky for you to say that you want to let her go. Don't look at her young, her strength is not weak. After all, it's human pillar power. What we mean is that this person's pillar force looks very unstable, whether to continue to seal it steadily, or transfer the second tail to another girl. After all, that girl has a blood succession limit on her." Uzumaki Mito said lightly, "Did you do this at the behest of Hokage? Lord Hokage is resisting the attack of Union Village, special circumstances in wartime, Lord Hokage is not there, and everything is in charge of the Ministry of Administration. Administration Department. What about Akimichi Wind?" Akimichi took the wind. He suddenly fell ill, and temporarily handed over the administration department to the two deputies. Mito Menyon smiled and said, "Everything we do is completely for Konoha, please rest assured Uzumaki-sama." Uzumaki Mito frowned, "It's better not to transfer indiscriminately, no one knows what will happen. Get out of the way." Danzo nodded and said, "Okay, Uzumaki-sama, then this place will be left to you, Trouble." After taking 2 steps, Danzo turned back and said, "Master Uzumaki Mito, for the safety of Konoha, we are going to open the 4 purple flame array, do you think there is any problem?" Uzumaki Mito glanced at Danzo, nodded and said, "Okay." As soon as Tuanzong walked out of the range of the magic formation, the 4 upper shinobi standing around him immediately began to cast spells. The enchantment is formed immediately. The 4 purple flame array was a cuboid enchantment with a purple transparent flame that opened up in the 4 directions of east, west, south and north. The enchantment array is attached with purple flames, which cannot allow outsiders to enter the inside of the enchantment, and once it touches the 4 walls of the enchantment, it will be burned by the flames. Uzumaki Mito always felt that something was wrong but walked up anyway. Just walked up and opened the girl's iron lock, but found that the girl was sweating profusely, as if she was enduring something, and said to Uzumaki Mito, "Old aunt, you hurry up." Uzumaki Mito's face suddenly changed, "What?" Before she could react, an extremely evil blue chakra emerged from the girl's body. Rumble. With a loud bang, Uzumaki Mito opened the 9-tailed form at the same time and flew out upside down. Uzumaki Mito's mind was dizzy, and when he looked up, he saw a huge cat demon, very huge, with a blue evil chakra on his body, 2 tails swinging, and a yin and yang chakra condensing in his mouth. Tailed Beast Jade. The huge terrifying coercion made Gyoshinai sit down directly. Uzumaki Mito blocked in front of Gyoshinai, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and said in a deep voice, "This time it's troublesome. This is not the tailed beastization, but the tailed beast got rid of the seal and the real body came out. The girl had fainted and died, and I was afraid that she was so badly injured that she could no longer be a human pillar. Here, the most suitable person to be a human pillar force is only Gyoshinai." Uzumaki Mito squinted, could it be a small action by Tuanzo? Damn it. Cancel the enchantment and let Gyoshinai out. Uzumaki Mito-sama, I'm sorry, the tailed beast has come out, we can't open the enchantment. Uzumaki Mito was immediately furious, I can naturally restrain the tailed beast, what are you afraid of? Sorry, Uzumaki-sama, we can't do this. This is our duty. Chapter 059. At this moment, the tailed beast Jade of the 2-tailed brigade bombarded Uzumaki Mito. Uzumaki Mito roared, extracted the 9-tailed chakra, and used the nine-tailed chakra to materialize into the hand of the chakra that resembled the sharp claws of a demon fox, and grabbed the tailed beast jade. Rumble. With a loud bang, the entire enchantment shook. Jyoshi covered her heart and muttered, "Grandma Mito, you must be fine." At this time, Jyoshi found that something was wrong. This matter is probably premeditated. Uzumaki Mito looked beyond the enchantment. Danzo and the others were no longer there, leaving only the 4 upper shinobi who were using the 4 purple flame arrays around them. Within the 4 purple yen array, Uzumaki Mito lost his mind, and was caught by the second Tails Brigade, and a cat's claw directly slapped Uzumaki Mito away. Grandma Mito. Uzumaki Mito spewed out a mouthful of blood, and suddenly found himself in front of a huge iron gate. And inside the iron gate, there was an orange-red nine-tailed fierce beast locked. Uzumaki Mito, it seems that you are in trouble. Do you want to release all my strength? Tail beasting. I can help you in any way. Humph, Nine Tails, we've been so many years, what are you like? I don't know. I will borrow your ability, but you don't think about devouring my body and regaining freedom. This is impossible. Uzumaki Mito opened his eyes, and his eyes turned into vertical pupils. Half-tailed beastization. The body of the whirlpool Mito changed significantly, forming a clear gushing state of the tailed beast chakra, covered with a dark red tailed beast chakra coat, like a humanoid tailed beast. It's just that behind her is not the 9 tails, but the 6 tails. Over the years, Uzumaki Mito has been very restrained and has hardly used tail beasting. But now this situation has to be used. Rumble. An even more deafening bang than just now. This time, it was the 2 tails who flew out upside down again. After Neo was slapped away by Uzumaki Mito's palm, Dragon Tooth grinned and roared angrily. Uzumaki Mito's figure flashed, and suddenly appeared in front of Neo Yugaku, with 5 fingers wrapped around the 5 attribute chakra. 5-element seal. Neo Yuga is very nimble, like a cat, jumping away in an instant, dodging the attack of Uzumaki Mito. But Uzumaki Mito's speed was just as fast, and he chased after him, pressing one hand on Neo Yugaku's stomach. Ah! Human, you look for death. Neo Yuga suddenly made a sound and slapped Uzumaki Mito away. The two collided again, fighting countless times in the air, seemingly simple attacks, but each blow carried a very large chakra. Finally, both flew upside down at the same time. Uzumaki Mito wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, gasped, and did not pursue, because her tail beastization was almost at a critical point. If you want to go further, the 9 tails will probably get out of trouble. But the 2-tailed brigade on the opposite side has no such concerns at all. Damn it. Do you want Jyoshi to seal this cat demon and become a human pillar force? Uzumaki Mito has always regarded Jyoshina as his own, and the successor of the 9-tailed pillar force who was originally good is now forced to become the air-tailed man pillar force. Moreover, his own seal is already about to move. Outside the training ground, Danzo, Mito Manita, and Koharu looked at the enchantment from a distance and smiled. Mito Menyon said in a deep voice, "Danzo, trap them inside, they won't die, right?" Danzo smiled and said, "How can the 2 tails kill the 9 tails? You don't have to worry, Uzumaki Mito will definitely not let Jyoshi make any mistakes. No matter what the outcome is, Yefeng will lose his only reliance. How can the seriously injured Uzumaki Mito be able to keep Night Maple safe? Besides, at that time, Uzumaki Mito will not have the ability to decide who will inherit the 9 tails. No matter what, we can't let Night Maple combine with the 9-tailed pillar force. Besides, Yefeng and the Uchiha clan are also very close. Just take Uchiha Makoto's reaction today, maybe he and Uchiha Makoto also have something unspeakable. For the sake of Konoha Village, we must eliminate all factors of instability and maintain the peace and stability of Konoha." Mito Menyon frowned and said, "In case Yefeng gets angry, his strength is not weak, it can be said that we are one of the best in Konoha." Xiaochun suddenly sneered and said, "Does he still dare to kill us? How can we say that we are also the elder figures of the village? He dares to touch a single hair of us, and no one in Konoha can protect him." At that time, Ape Fei will also make a move to protect the Will of Fire. Are there so many of us? Are we afraid that Yefeng will not be able to make it a hairy boy? At this time, Yefeng and Bofeng Shuman returned to Konoha Village. Chapter 060. Yefeng looked ahead and had already reached the gate of Konoha Village. It was already night, the gate of the village entrance was brightly lit, and there were a few figures faintly. Looking closely, the female ninja in front turned out to be Mikoto Uchiha. Night Maple. It's great that you're okay. She had been waiting for herself at the door. There are also 3 people in the 7th class. Terumi has been taken away as a mission target. Teacher. Night Maple. Rin and Mikoto Uchiha rushed up first. Yefeng smiled and said, "It's okay, I'm back." Lin pulled the corner of Yifeng's clothes and looked. "Teacher, your body is too clean." Uchiha Mikoto looked at the wave feng shui gate behind him. "Watergate, this is." Watergate said in a deep voice, "This is a secret, I will go first." Yefeng nodded and said, "Well, you go first." As soon as the words fell, the Watergate disappeared. Uchiha Mikoto suddenly felt a little nervous. She saw the clothes on the person carrying by the Watergate, a little familiar. It seemed to be a Hokage robe. No, the color is not right, it's a blue pattern. It won't be a water shadow. Uchiha. Mikoto shook her head, removing this impossible idea of herself. How could it be Mizukage? Yefeng touched Lin's head and said, "Okay, it's so late, the teacher is back, go home." Lin nodded and said, "Well, teacher, see you tomorrow." "Well, you guys go back too." Yokai said to Obito and Kakashi. The 3 students also have a bit of conscience and know how to wait for themselves at the door. The task is completed, rest for a few days first. Mikoto, go back too. Uchiha Mikoto nodded and said, "Ikid, then I will take Obito back, thank you for helping our Uchiha family cultivate a genius." Yefeng smiled and said, "This is his talent, although he prefers to cry his nose, but the talent is still there." "Ah, Teacher Yefeng, shut up. Obito is urgent. How can you say such an ugly thing about yourself in front of Mikoto-sensei? And Rin is watching here. Obito wants to kill Ikid. Teacher Yefeng is so hateful." Yefeng smiled, waved his hand and said, let's go, I'll go back too." Now Yefeng is like an arrow in his heart, killing Shueying or something. It's all floating clouds, or it's more important to go back to see his fiancée and daughter-in-law. I wonder what Joshinai is doing now. Are you thinking about yourself? Uchiha Mikoto suddenly said, "By the way, Yokai, I heard that Danzo has returned, and he asked the people of the administration department to ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to go somewhere." Danzo called Grandma Mito away. Uchiha Mikoto nodded and said, "Yes, Danzo seems to have brought back some 2 tails, please ask Uzumaki Mito-sama to help seal it." Neo. If Yefeng remembers correctly, Erwei was in Union Village, and Tuanzong had just signed a 20-year peace agreement with Union Village, and turned around and stole Erwei from Union Village. It's really an old buy. In just a moment, Yifeng had already guessed the matter. Listening to Fugaku, he saw Uzumaki Mito-sama and Kushina go to the number 4 training ground, which is the training ground closest to Hokage Rock. Yifeng frowned, feeling a little uneasy in his heart and said, "I know, then I'll take a look first." After speaking, Yifeng's figure disappeared instantly. The 3 members of the 7th class were once again amazed by Yifeng's speed. The teacher is too fast. This is Shangnan. Humph, I will definitely be more powerful than the teacher in the future. Obito, you can dream. Kakashi, are you trying to fight? Come on, don't think that if you open the Sharingan, I'm afraid of you, I also have a Thunder Thousand Birds. Obito and Kakashi quarreled again, and Rin said speechlessly, "You guys don't argue, it's so late, go home quickly." Uchiha Mikoto frowned, pulled Obito and said, "Let's go home, another genius has appeared in our Uchiha family, and after going back, the head of the family must be very happy." Obito nodded, glanced at Kakashi, snorted, and walked away with his nose towards the sky. He took the soil and is now a genius of the Uchiha family. Yifeng's figure was fast, stepping on the eaves, flashing, and directly came to the wall of the whirlpool courtyard. Uzumaki Mito and Kushina were indeed not in it. It seems that they really went to the training ground. At this moment, Yefeng felt that in the direction of the Fire Shadow Rock, 2 very huge chakras suddenly appeared. One of the chakras, Yefeng is very familiar with. Nine-tailed chakra. It is Uzumaki Mito. The other one is probably Neo. Grandma Mito and Kushina are in trouble over there. Thinking of this, Yifeng immediately flew towards the number 4 training ground. At this moment, the character card between the 1,000 hand pillars, the fusion degree was suddenly 100% full. Ding! Congratulations to the host for fully fusing the SSS level character card 1,000 hand pillar. In Yifeng's mind, he immediately digested all the knowledge related to the 1,000 hand pillars. All the power between the 1,000 hand pillars has been inherited. The ninja god last, that is, the strongest ninjutsu, immortal magic Mudun true thousands of hands, top avatar, has been comprehended. Now Yifeng feels like 1,000 hand pillars. Ninja God. Ding! Search for S-Class character card Uzumaki Ashina and S-Class character card original Water Shadow White Lotus. The host can fuse one of them. Which one to fuse? Yifeng said without hesitation, Fusion Vortex Ashina.